So check this out. Does anyone know what's going on there? It's not doing too good of a job, is it? That's a baby bird.
What? Oh, that's a baby bird. Oh, a baby bird. Okay.
And it's trying to get the worm. Now, when it sees a worm, it opens its mouth, and then the worm goes in it automatically. But for some reason, it's not working this time.
Mama's not there.
Yes, mom's not there. So that worm is freedom, and that baby bird is us, the American citizens. We've been expecting it just to show up because it's always been there before. And we're sitting there looking at it, and we can't figure out why it won't jump into our mouth. So like that bird, you have to go out and get it. And we have to go out and take our freedom back.
Yes. Yeah.
It's as simple as that.
To grow up.
We got to grow up. And there are people before us that had to fight to give us the freedoms that we have all been taking for granted. I'll tell you, being locked in our homes and forced to wear diapers on our face and close our businesses should have been the biggest wake-up call ever. But I can't help but notice there's still people wearing diapers on their faces around here. But not just California, don't worry. They're scattered around the country still. There are just people that are blind and scared. I'd say if they're still wearing a diaper at this point, just let them go about their thing. They're probably not going to figure this out for a while. To get them to understand we have a problem with our elections, it might be 10 or 20 years from now. So my name is Mark Cook. Thank you very much for having me here. I appreciate it. I am traveling the country because I'm trying to save our country, and I don't know any other way to do it. I got involved in elections a long time ago in this relative term, the day after the 2020 election, on November 4th, when I woke up hoping that I was going to wake up in reality, in the alternate reality, opposite the one where Joe Biden was our president. Yeah. I woke up, and maybe some of you had this experience also, you're still in the same reality on the 4th, and trying to think, what just happened? I watched the election all night. I watched it. I watched the vote count stop. I watched everything go one direction. It was really obvious where it was going to go. Vote stop, restart later, and they stopped on every TV network. Restart later, and all of a sudden the trajectory changes. I'm a math guy, not normal, sorry. We all knew something was wrong because something was wrong. We didn't all just imagine this at all. Now, half the country really liked the result, so they're not going to question how it got there. So I'm not shocked that they said there's no problem. Some of them probably knew and didn't care because they got their way. But most of them were along for the ride, and they were just so happy they won. That's all they cared about. They never bothered questioning it. I got called, let's see here, how'd that go down? On the 4th, I went to the airport. I actually watched the election in Miami, Florida with American Priority Festival. I wanted to be around patriots watching the election because I had become so involved in campaigning and supporting Trump because I knew that America First candidate, businessman, is exactly what our country needed at that time. I knew it before he even announced. I told my closest friend, the only way we're going to fix this is if a businessman runs for president. Mm-hmm. And then shortly thereafter, what happens? Trump announces. And I thought, you're kidding me. Oh my gosh, this is it. That's it. I'm in, totally in. And I was very supportive of that because I knew that's exactly what this country needed. I'm going to change, and I'm going to hit record real quick on my display. There we go. If I don't do this, what will end up happening is I will have to re-edit this, and it will take me forever. And I'm not going to put myself through that yet again. So now I've hit record, and everything is fine with the world. Okay. I was getting on the plane. I looked down at my phone, and I saw on Facebook Scott Pressler wrote, "Going to Pennsylvania, need help." And I wanted to do something. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I just wanted to go back to the other reality. So I didn't know how to get a hold of Scott, but I watched the election with a bunch of people from American Priority Festival. One of them was like Bryson Gray. He was there. Like people, like famous people I didn't even know, really. And then Christy, who is the founder of Moms for Trump. She was there also. And I happened to have her number. So I just called her and said, "Christy, this is weird, but can you get me Scott Pressler's phone number?" And she said, "I don't have it, but I'll check." So I'm walking onto the plane, and all of a sudden I look down and I have a text message, and it's just a phone number. So I called the number. It was Scott Pressler that answered. And I said, "Scott, my name's Mark. You won't remember me. I met you a couple years ago at a Trump event in Washington, D.C. And I saw you need help in Pennsylvania. I'm getting on a plane to go back to Colorado. I'm in Florida right now. I'll go to Pennsylvania. Do you want me to go there and help you?" He said, "Yes, I would love that." I said, "Okay, no problem. I'll call you in a few minutes." So I told them I had a little emergency, family emergency. I had to get off the plane. I got off the plane. I went and sat down in the terminal. I called Scott and said, "Okay, what are we doing?" And he said, "Well, we're going to do a rally. We're going to do a Stop the Steal rally." I said, "Okay, sounds good. I'll get up." I was looking up flights. I said, "The first flight I can get is tomorrow morning. And I'll get that flight right now." So I was in the process of purchasing it while I was talking to him. And I said, do we have signs and stuff? Because when you have a rally, I think you hold signs up. That's typically what I've seen. He said he didn't have signs, and he was driving there to Pennsylvania. So I said, "Okay, well, I'm just sitting here bored. I'll take care of getting signs done." So I started looking on Facebook for anyone I could find in Pennsylvania. I reached out to everyone, private messages everywhere, asking for help. And these two moms contacted me and said, "First of all, men, if it weren't for the women, we would have no election integrity movement."
That's right.
That is absolutely 100% true. Our mama bears are the reason why we are fighting election. And I got to tell you, most people in election integrity, most of it's women. God bless you all. Whip those men into shape. We have to get this taken care of. So I called the moms. I said, "Hey, we got to get some signs made. What I'll do is I'll call Kinko's, and Kinko's, Office Max, something like that. And we'll have some signs printed up. We'll just have them print up white piece of paper with red lettering, Stop the Steal. And then we need to have something to put the paper on." So another one said, "Well, I'll go to Home Depot and get boxes." I said, "Great, go get moving boxes, box cutters, tape, and glue." And so one mom went to Kinko's, got the papers. The other one went and got boxes. I slept on the floor of the airport that night, not super comfortable. I also called, I called all around because the guy that was doing the Trump trains all around, I tried to get a hold of him because I wanted to do a Trump train around the Capitol as well. We got that done. So I was making lots of phone calls at that time, trying to coordinate all of this stuff. And I got on the plane, landed, Ubered to the Capitol. The mom showed up with all their kids, which was great. And we sat on the Capitol steps with two moms and a whole bunch of kids and me, and we assembled the first Stop the Steal signs for the rally. I had never done a rally before. I'm not an activist. I'm a computer programmer. So this was kind of weird for me, but I really wanted to do something to help the nation. And I saw Scott, before that, he was going out to all these cities cleaning up after the BLM and Antifa riots. So I just thought, he's just this amazing citizen that's just going out and taking charge. And I like to take charge too. So I thought, all right, well, we'll work well together. So we did the rally for about 4 days, and even shared, Patriots got us a hotel room. So shared a hotel room. I built a website, actually. He went to sleep early. I stayed up and built a website called Great American Rebirth that I'm going to show you in a little bit here. And it's important because it actually has something to do with California, because I ended up in California the month after that. in Sacramento County, actually, and that's what really jettisoned me into elections. Um, God's driven me this entire time. Every single opportunity that has been in front of me is because it's been divinely positioned. And I did not grow up a religious person. I grew up a spiritual person. I'm an engineer. I kind of like to see it, touch it, feel it, but I also know there's a natural order to things. And there's some type of there's an overlap there. I hadn't quite figured it out yet, but I knew there was something. So I was very open. And I had to, in the middle of all this, I have had to ask God a couple times, just give me a sign that I'm not going crazy, that I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. Because I heard other people ask God for signs, so I figured, well, I'll just give it a shot. And I gave it a shot, and I got answered. I got answered multiple times. And one time I said, all right, I really need to know, because these other things could be coincidences. Give me something that there's no question. And I had 5 totally impossible things happen in a row in less than 24 hours. Wow. I'm talking weird stuff. One of them was I traveled to Georgia, and after a day or two in Georgia, I'm walking around the parking lot by this hotel, which I had crazy things happen in the hotel too. I don't have time to go into all that. But I'm walking along, and I just see this figure, this very tall person. And he walks past, and there's a van there. This person and this little short girl, tall guy, walk right past me and on the other side of the van, and I walk this way. And I saw that tall shape, and I thought, boy, that looks a lot like my intern from Colorado. It's a high school intern that I had a couple years prior in Colorado. I said, no way. So I went around the van, and I looked behind, and it really looked like him. And I yelled, hey, Rylan. And he turned around, and it was him. In the middle of Atlanta, Georgia. He just happened to be walking there. He went to Atlanta to spend some time with his girlfriend to go to an aquarium. And the aquarium was close to the hotel I was staying at. Oh, by the way, he was staying in the room across from my room on the same floor. But there's stuff that happened before that, too. It was, and he looked at me, he's like, what are you doing here? He had just flown there a couple days before. I just met with him last week, actually. Funny that. We went to dinner because he's working in Orange County right now for SpaceX. Oh. So I got to see him again. That was really cool to hang out with him again. I think the last time I saw him was in that parking lot. But again, all divine. So I'm out there, and also, I did some door walking in that same parking lot with Scott Pressler, by the way. As crazy as that is, that's the parking lot I met Scott Pressler in on another event doing door walking, where we ended up at Lynn Wood's house. Wow. Yes. I literally, we're at this door, and the guy says, don't bother going to the next house, because we were bringing Republican type stuff there, and he said, don't bother going to the next house. You don't have to check. He's definitely Republican. That's Lynn Wood's house. So literally, I'm standing right next to Lynn Wood's, and we went up to his door. He wasn't there. He was at another house of his. But just weird stuff. But we got elections to talk about. The next week, I went to Georgia for that Stop the Steal rally to help Scott on that as well. And I got a call that night from Dennis Kane's, and he's Nate Kane's father. Nate Kane is the FBI whistleblower on Uranium One. So I met Dennis at another American Priority Festival event a couple years prior that I heard Nate speak at, and that was at Trump Doral in Florida. And I sat at this table because I was there by myself, and these 2 people looked very nice, so I sat down with them. It happened to be Nate's parents. So they just happened to have my phone number after the 2020 election. Dennis calls me and says, Mark, Nate could use your help in D.C. because he knew I was a computer cyber guy. Could you go out to D.C. to help Nate? And I was in Georgia at the time. I said, yeah, sure, give me his number. So I called him. I said, Nate, do you want my help? He said, yes. How soon can you get here? I said, I'm in Georgia right now. I'll get the first flight. So I went straight to the airport, slept on the floor again. He's getting used to that. And I flew straight to DC, and he told me to go to this particular hotel. I had to figure out how to use the subway. Had never done that before. I'm from a little mountain town. We don't have subways in little part of Colorado here. So I figured out how to use the subway. I got to the hotel. It was the Westin Hotel in Arlington, Virginia. I went there. I was told to go to a certain floor, certain room. I knock on the door. So, Nate answers the door. I say, hey, I'm Mark. And Nate had never met me, but his parents had. So I introduced myself. I said, I'm a computer guy from Colorado to the other people that were in the room. And they said, well, we don't have any computers here. Sydney just took everything when she got evacuated. So it was Sydney Powell's war room that she had just been evacuated due to a security threat. And I'm literally standing in the doorway, and I've been watching Sydney on the news all week long. I'm literally standing in the same. So my whole world went from this big to that big very quickly. And I said, well, I'll help any way I can. They said, we don't have any computers. I said, do we need computers? They said, yeah, it'd be great if we have computers. I said, I can fix that. Can I borrow a car? So they gave me a car to borrow, and I went to the computer store, and I went and bought computers. And I was told, I first asked, is there a credit card someone can give me? And they said, just keep your receipts. The RNC has $200+ million. You'll get paid back. I did not get paid back. Yes. Oh, let me get this. So I went out and bought computers anyway. I filled that little car up. I went back to the hotel. I spent the next 3 days and 2 nights. I don't think I even went to sleep. I set all these computers up, and $16,000 is a lot. Printers, computers, laptops, desktops, firewalls, extension cords, power strips, everything I thought that a group of people would need to research the stolen election and save the country. At that point, I would have spent $30,000, $100,000. It didn't matter to me. I just wanted to get it fixed. And I even if I was told I wouldn't have got paid back, I still would have done it because this is all hands on deck. Our country may have just been stolen from us. And I don't like criminals. I don't like thieves at all. Pretty sure one of those commandments says something about stealing. Not okay with it. So I set all that up, and then people started asking me questions about the election system. They asked me, what's a tabulator? What is a ballot definition? Where do we look for the fraud? Where's the fraud? And I'm sitting here going, I don't know. I came here to learn from all of you. I'll start researching. So I started downloading every manual I could. I looked for all the manuals. I looked for Dominion manuals and ES&S and HART, and I realized, okay, there's 8 or 9 different voting systems. I tried to figure out where they're used in what state and how they all work. I started reading all the manuals to figure out what the architecture of the systems was. Does one use Linux, one use Windows, do they have databases on them, etc. And I realized a lot of these systems use the same hardware and software I'd been using my whole life. I mean, I've been selling Dell systems, servers, workstations, laptops for like 30 years at that point. And starting my company when I was 13 years old. I started programming when I was 10. I was a nerdy little kid. I started one of the first bulletin board systems in the Western U.S. It was one of the largest bulletin boards. It was a multi-line bulletin board. I was 12 years old running it. So I've been doing this since before CompuServe and Prodigy days. So I've been doing it a while. I kind of know about just about everything computer-wise. And cybersecurity and forensics. And I studied mechanical engineering and electrical engineering and all that. So I've got an extensive background, a large knowledge base. I wear a lot of different hats, although when I go out and do this, it's really the white hat. And I just wear the white hat because I started wearing a white hat. It's not because I'm a white hat hacker. I'm not a hacker. Some people think I'm a hacker. Someone came up to me a couple weeks ago in a hotel and said, I need to talk to you because you're a hacker and I need you to hack something. I said, what are you talking about? I'm not a hacker at all. I don't like hackers. I like to stop hackers from doing their bad deeds. I like complex systems. I like figuring out how things work. I was a little kid that got my first tool set, took everything apart in my house to figure out how it worked, and then I improved it and put it back together. And that's how I've always been. So I'm sitting here trying to look up all this election information, and then I'm explaining this to politicians that were there. There were intelligence agency people there, and I don't do that. That's not my world. I've never known that world. I knew it existed, but I didn't really never talk to anyone that worked there that I know of. but I probably have talked to a lot of people that work there without knowing it, because that's kind of how that world works. And I was explaining tabulators and tabulation and scanners and firmware and software updates. And I was thinking, okay, I've mapped the whole system out. If there was manipulation, where would they do it? Where would a bad actor manipulate the system? And if they did manipulate it in these different places, what kind of symptoms would we see? Where would we see the manipulation? Where would we see the evidence? And so I was creating these diagrams, and I didn't know if it was helping. I was getting them to people, and I didn't know where they were taking them or what they were doing with them. I was just this computer guy. I did not want to get in anyone's way, and I really didn't know who was who. I was just trying to do my best and not step on toes and just be a valuable asset and not cause any harm. That's all I was trying to do. And then I saw a picture taken inside the White House, and I looked in that picture, and in the background of the picture was one of the diagrams I made, blown up really big on the wall. And I thought, wow, I'm actually making some kind of a difference here. This is really cool. So once I saw that picture, I said, all right, well, I ain't going nowhere. I'll just keep working. And I only brought a few days of clothes with me at that point. Because remember, I came from Georgia. I was only gonna be in Georgia for a weekend. I literally had a little backpack with some clothes. So I had to order clothes and toiletries on Amazon and had them all shipped in. This might even be one of the shirts. It's been interesting. I lived in that hotel for a month and a half. I had never stayed in a hotel for more than a few days. This was a month and a half that I stayed in this hotel. It was the most bizarre experience ever. And I'd wake up early in the morning, I'd go answer questions and look up election fraud, and I started another website, and we were trying to put information and images and data for people to try to figure this out. I mean, remember, this is November of 2020 when the whole world was upside down. What else happened? A couple weeks in, someone came up to me and said, do you want to see the Biden laptop? And I said, the Biden laptop that we're told is Russian disinfo and that isn't real, that one? They said, yeah, that one. I said, yes, I would like to see it. And so I got to examine it. And it turns out it was not Russian disinfo. It actually was Hunter's. And it was all real. And I realized that all these agencies, these parts of our government had totally lied to the American people. I mean, that right there is election manipulation, because tell me someone wouldn't have voted differently if they knew about all these crimes. Yeah. And there are a ton of crimes. If you're not aware of the crimes, go to bidenreport.com. It was founded, the organization is Marco Polo. It was founded by Garrett Ziegler, and he did a report on the Biden laptop. And I met Garrett out there, actually, because he once in a while would come by the hotel. So on December 24th, after fighting, actually, let me tell you about the Sacramento story. Actually, this is really important because you guys are California. Early December, I get a call from the clerk, the registrar in Sacramento County, California. Her name was Courtney. And she called me and said, I would like someone to come audit my election department. She asked for an audit, and she needed it right away. This is right after the 2020 election, literally the next month. And I said, okay, no problem. She says, how much do you charge? I said, I don't charge anything. Are you kidding me? I'll pay you to audit it. No, I didn't say that. But I said, we don't charge anything. I'll get a flight right away. And she said, well, I can't approve a free bid. So you have to put some dollar amount on it. I said, okay. How about $1? And she said, that's fine. So I sent a bid for $1, laid out what I was going to do, and I was going to bring in a team of people that I was with, and she signed it and sent it back. I said, okay, game on. We're going. So it took me 3 flights. I had to get from DC all the way to here, right? Couldn't have been further away, actually. Except I guess Alaska would have been further away. So 3 flights throughout the night. I finally made it. And when my plane landed, I looked at my phone and I had a ton of text messages on there. It was Courtney. The county attorneys found out about it and called the whole thing off. Now, there are only 2 people I told that I was going out there. And I'm not going to get into that because there's still some stuff to uncover from the 2020 and who's who in the zoo. But that is not over yet. So the county attorneys found out. They called the whole thing off. She apologized. She said, would you like a tour? Since you came all the way here, I feel really bad. And she was super sweet. I said, yes, I would love a tour. And at this point, I had asked God a couple of times, and God just opens doors, and I'm supposed to walk through them. So this was just yet another door. And there was a reason why that happened, and there was something I was supposed to see. So I showed up at the election department. She brought me in, and I spent 3 hours in there. And we talked about a lot of stuff. And she showed me some of the scariest stuff I'd ever seen in my life. And I will share that with you right now, actually. So I'm going to pause my normal presentation slides. And let me pull up a web browser here. And we'll show you that. Okay. So it's greatamericanrebirth.com is the website. And this is the site I created when Scott Presser was asleep behind me, and I was up at that little desk in the hotel room creating this website because at that time, I was like, all right, I got to be a citizen journalist because I know we're all being lied to, and I'm going to bring the news, the real stuff to the citizens. And I was just going to go fly to places, take video, and put it out online. And we knew, everything was getting deplatformed. Everyone was getting deplatformed. So I knew I couldn't trust Facebook or Twitter at the time. So I just created my own website. I'm a IT guy, but I'm not an artistic guy, as you can see, so it's really basic, so I apologize. Okay, so Sacramento, California report. If you click on that, that'll take you to where I documented all of this. And this is not over either, because I don't think this story's been finished. So I wrote up everything that I did, the full background. Does anyone know who Chris Bish is? Yes. Okay, so Chris is who knew Courtney. And Chris called me and said, Courtney needs to talk to you. So that was the connect, was from Chris. And I'll actually see Chris here in a little bit. I haven't seen Chris since December of 2020. So I get to see her, I think, in a couple days. So there's everything that happened. And all the documents are there, the FOIA response, etc., and the pictures. Now, some of you may have seen this picture. The Dominion voting made in China. Right. Yeah. I took that picture. I took that picture inside Sacramento County Elections Department in the warehouse. That's why it's copyrighted with my name on it. Because when I took all of these pictures, I wanted to protect all of these pictures because I was worried about them getting into the wrong hands and them doing something weird with it. And so I went through and copyrighted all these through the traditional, real copyright office, the whole deal. I did it in the airport. I think in one of the airports here, I guess. Literally right after I took them, I think it was a Sacramento, whatever airport's near Sacramento. And I sat there by baggage claim and actually processed all the copyrights. Wow. So, but I'll show you some of these pictures. Okay, so, and I don't have time to go through 300 pictures, but I'll show you a few things that really got me here. So this is the warehouse. And when Courtney walked up to the door, there's a fence and there's a gate there. And there's one of those push button locks where you have to push the 5 mechanical buttons and you put your code in and then you can unlock it and open it. Well, she goes up to it and makes a fist. And she said, I always have trouble with this lock. And she made a fist and pushed all 5 buttons at once. Oh. And then tried to open it. I'm thinking, that's not how you unlock these. But she was showing me something because then the next second, she looked over and said, hey, Bob, can you help me with this lock again? And the guy on the forklift, I don't know if his name was Bob, it's been a few years, but the guy on the forklift gets off the forklift in the warehouse, walks over, pulls his keys, and unlocks the door and lets us into the secure storage area for all the voting machines for the county.
I have one better. Ours just leaves the door open.
Leaves it wide open? Okay. All right.
Pictures of it.
All right. The whole, but I'm seeing this, I'm seeing this in December 2020. I'm thinking, oh my gosh, the warehouse staff have access to this? Oh my gosh. So he opens the door up. We walk in. the first thing I see is a laptop on a little cart. And the lid has ballot printing station right on it. Find my mouse here. There we go. And I asked her, I didn't want to touch anything because I want my fingerprints on anything, but I asked her, would you open that? And she said, yeah, sure, I'll open it. So she opens up the lid, and this cart is pulled out from the shelf. It's in the aisle. It's not stored away. It's literally in the aisle like someone had just used it. And she opens up the laptop, and here's what I see. Never put your password above your keyboard. It's the first place someone might look. But don't worry, it's really secure. It's California 2020 exclamation mark. No one would guess that for a California election system being run for a 2020 election, right? Don't worry, they take these are the gold standard systems. They take elections serious here in this country, right? And I asked her, so what does this thing do? She says, oh, it'll print any ballot in the county. And below it was a printer. And I asked her to open up the paper tray. And she pulled the paper tray out, and there's blank ballot paper, thousands of sheets of blank ballot paper. Now, this thing's already in the election department. It's already passed all the checks. Someone could sit there from the warehouse, open that thing up. Luckily, the password's right there, so I don't even have to remember the password. Type the password in, pick the ballots they want, print out all the ballots they want across the whole county and all these different precincts, fill them all out, and set them right by the tabulators or run them through the tabulators. It'd be trivial. And it's all right there. So that was one of the many things she showed me. Here's one of the rooms where all the adjudication happens. Here's the wall outlets. She told me that they plug the adjudication terminals into. That easily could go to, like the network wiring in the building that, sometimes it goes out to the internet or other networks. Those are the adjudication terminals. There's some of the cables. There's these mess of cables all over the place, and it was a mess in there. And then inside the server room, here is the ballot definition computer for Dominion and the tabulation and reporting system. And I noticed there are flash drives all over the tabletop. Flash drives everywhere. And I took pictures of a bunch of them.
Oh, we didn't see any of that.
No, not at
No,
all.
we didn't
Notice one of them has BIOS on it. Now, BIOS stands for Basic Input-Output System. And what the BIOS is, it's the first program that runs when you turn a computer on. And that's what connects the hardware on the computer to the operating system. And that hardware is like a mouse, keyboard, anything USB, wireless card, modem, all that stuff. The BIOS is like the master controller for all that. And it's very strange for a flash drive to be labeled BIOS sitting on a voting system, on the ballot programming part of it, that you should never be messing with the BIOS on these anyway after the fact. So that was strange. So I just took pictures. Remember, this is my first time in an election department. I'd never been in one, and I have a small window, and I don't know how many pictures she's going to let me take. And she did let me take these. She just didn't want to be in any of them. So I took all the pictures, and then right behind me is this thing, and that's a network rack. And that network rack has a bunch of servers in it. And I asked, what are these servers? And she said, well, these are all the county web servers. I said, so on the internet, obviously. She said, oh, yeah. That's in the same room as the ballot programming and report and tabulation system. And you'll see right here on the left, that's a monitor. And that is another report and tabulation system for the voting system. And I'll show you, I think I've got that. I'll show you in a second. And that, if you notice the cables, where do they go? Right over into the network rack. There's the front of the network rack with a phone. That's a voice over IP phone. And if anyone doesn't know what VoIP means, it's voice over internet protocol. Now, don't make this big mistake that a lot of people make. Don't think that it takes being connected to the internet to manipulate a voting system. It does not. There are a lot of ways to manipulate a voting system. Also, don't think the internet is the only network out there. There are hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of networks that are not the internet that are out there. Just the most common network that people use is the internet. But the internet is just a network of different connected networks. Okay? So, for instance, when my phone or your phone gets on the internet, what it actually does is there's a SIM card typically in it, unless you have a new phone that has a virtual SIM, an eSIM, but most phones have a SIM card in it. And the modem on the phone, the software, what it does, it looks on the SIM card to see what carrier you are configured on your SIM card. And then it connects to a cell tower and it registers and it connects to what's called an APN, an access point name, which is it's a cellular network, not the internet. It's a cellular network on your carrier. And once your phone connects to that APN that's indicated by the SIM card that's in your phone, it's up to the carrier, like Verizon or T-Mobile or Sprint, to then connect you to the internet from that network. So you're connected to this APN network. For Verizon, it's like VZ Internet. But that's just a private network on Verizon's network, not to the internet unless they want you to go to the internet. It's a network of networks. So a lot of our voting systems, as I've researched them, if they do have cellular capability, which a lot of them do, that cellular capability actually puts them typically on a private APN that they purchase from the carrier, like from T-Mobile. I'll just give you an example. And I'm throwing these out there as an example. I'm not saying this is what's happening. But let's say like Dominion has cellular and they would contact AT&T, for instance, and say, AT&T, we want to buy an APN for Dominion. And we're going to program all of our systems with SIM cards that connect to that APN for Dominion. And we want that APN to connect to our servers in our data center, but not to the internet. So they could have a totally private APN that your voting system equipment connects to, that can all be connected and controlled by anyone else on that APN without ever touching the internet.
We have
It's
that
a-
system.
That's what we have here.
Yeah.
That's what we have in Ventura.
Okay, and
In case you
it's
people don't
common.
know, they do. When
Yeah.
you go to the vote and you see your
Voting
voting
centers.
e-poll books,
Mhm.
that's what he's talking about. That's
The-
connected back to central computers.
Yes, and so they are connected. So, and what they'll do is they'll play games. They'll say, "Little peasants, it's not on the internet,"
And it's not on the
and the peasants are like, "Okay, well, it's got to be on the internet," because they don't know the difference. They don't know there's other networks. So they play these word games and they take advantage of people's ignorance, and that infuriates me because I don't like people that deceive.
Well, they say it all the time at the board.
And they do, and they keep saying it over and over again because that repetition is used as a psychological weapon, right? It's all about conditioning people. This whole thing that we're going through it's fifth generation warfare, okay? It's psychological warfare. It's full of lies and deception, and it's an information war, and it's multi-levels deep. It's really disgusting, and they've been doing this for a very long time.
So the question is, what network are you on? It's on the internet. Just say, well, what network?
Well, here's what it matters. What actually matters is it on any network? Is one device able to connect to any other device? If it is, no thank you. And that's the problem. And so if they're connectable to any other device, that's the important thing, not if it's on the internet or not. Don't get stuck in the connected to the internet game. And it is just that. That's why they keep repeating that phrase over and over again, because they want to embed it in your head to distract you from what it actually is. Okay. But like I said, I can go into lots of detail, a lot of stuff. So voice over IP phone, voice over internet protocol. Obviously, this thing's probably on the internet. I mean, literally, there's the report and tabulation server that's plugged in directly to that same rack. So they've been lying to us a lot. It's a pyramid of lies. There's people lying at the very top, and then all these people don't have the technical knowledge to know they're being lied to, so they just assume that these people are right. And then by the time we get to the bottom, where all the little lonely peasants are, where we are, we don't know. We're just told by all these people that it's fine. But I start digging all the way up, and I realize they're lying at the very top. The testing labs are really the biggest problem. Because once the testing labs do their testing, which they're not actually testing, the certification companies certify it, and once it's certified, most secretaries of state say it's fine for use because it's certified. Certified, it's good. Now, Texas is a little bit smarter. Texas has their own people that even if the EAC certifies a voting system, they have to have their own people certify it for Texas. And when Texas did that with Dominion, they said, oh no, there's no way. This does not pass our tests at all. So that's why Dominion is not allowed in Texas. But they do use HART and ESNS. Oh, don't clap too much, because I'll tell you, those testers, the Texas testers who tested HART and ESNS, they found issues with those. And the Secretary of State just rubber stamped it anyway, knowing that they didn't pass the tests.
Oh.
That's in Texas.
In Texas. Okay, so also
They don't even ask questions.
in the ballot storage room in Sacramento, I went in there. She had to show a badge, or like actually use a badge with an RFID on it. Put a code in and get through the door on the other side. And then we get in there, and there's shelves and shelves of ballots, and they're all batched, and they're put in little bags, tamper-evident bags, like you would expect. And then at the other end of the room is this thing. It is a pallet of ballots. And it still has the pallet jack there, as you can see. It's dated, I think, 12/15 of 2020. And I'm looking at this thing. And there were shelves behind it, but we couldn't get there because this thing was in the way. So she did another thing. She said, let me show you what's over here, but we're going to have to get this moved. Now, I know how to use a pallet jack, so I was about ready to go move the pallet out of the way. And she said, oh, no, I got it. And she went to the door just to the right of the pallet jack, and you can kind of see the base of the door right there, and you can see it's open. She went out there, and that's where the warehouse was. And she yelled in, hey, guys, can you come grab this pallet? And one of them walked to the door from the other side. And this is the opposite where the security stuff is. Pulls keys out, unlocks the door, pulls the ballots out, the whole pallet, right out into the warehouse. So all the security is a facade, At least they have more there than, I guess, yours. So moves it out of the way, and then we were able to see the other stuff. Now, she showed me all kinds of other stuff, too. If you're curious and you want to see it, click where it says click here for full gallery. I did about 300 pictures, and I tried to categorize them by room name. So they're all grouped by room name. Feel free, if you want to look through them, by all means, you just click here. And I tried to, if you hover over, I tried to put some descriptions on what it was. So
Question.
hopefully that'll help. Yeah.
Has anybody told you that you can't publish these pictures?
No.
No legal action has been made or anything like that against you?
No.
Okay.
But if someone would like to, by all means, bring it on.
Yeah.
I'm ready to go, and I got a lot of questions. So
I'm surprised
yeah.
after 4 years,
Yeah.
nobody's done that.
Yeah, I think people don't want to touch me because I know too much.
Yeah.
But if they want to, I am ready to roll. Because I got nothing to lose at this point. I've already lost it all. You got nothing to take from me. And I don't like liars. And I don't like thieves. And we have been lied to and had our elections stolen from us in one capacity or another for decades. It is not just the 2020 election. It has been going on for a very long time. And the citizens are so far out of the picture now that we can't see it happening. So really what this whole thing has turned into is not an election system. It's an election illusion system. All right. So that's Sacramento County. That's all I could do was a tour, take pictures, talk to Courtney for a bit. She helped me with a lot of information. She told me that the other thing that's kind of important, this was curious to me, is there's let's see, I probably have it in the tabulation room. Let me see if I have it here. Precinct storage ballot, tabulation, okay. Because you got to see these things. They're really cool. So here's the normal scanner. This is a tabulator. Basically, the scanner and the computer together is a tabulator. But that's a normal scanner. I've got a few of them now, actually. And you got to see this thing. These things are amazing. There they are. That's the High Pro.
Yeah, we have those.
Okay, so that is a high-speed scan. It looks like a big robot. It's massive. And I saw you had the little scanners, and then you had these huge scanners, the high speed and the lower speed. And I said, why do you have two different types of scanners here? That's odd. And she says, well, what we do is the thick ballot paper goes through the high-speed scanners, but the thin ballot paper goes through the lower speed because the high-speed scanners tears that paper up. And I asked, well, why would you have different thickness ballot paper? Wouldn't all the ballot paper be the same?
Right.
And she said, well, you'd think, but some areas get one type of paper and other areas are mailed different thickness paper. So if I was going to manipulate that election, if I was a bad guy, what I would do is I would send the thinner ballot paper to some areas, and I would know when it came back, I have to have a way to make sure it only goes through the tabulators I've programmed to interpret the ballot differently, the way I want it to be interpreted, if I'm a bad guy. And then the people that are working there would have no idea. I would just tell them, hey, don't put the thin paper through the big scanners because it'll tear it up and we'll lose a ballot. So the people that are working there would be part of the scam without even knowing it. And I think maybe that might be happening.
We saw that, and Debbie and I documented it.
Okay.
Debbie and I were witness to it.
In your county too?
In our county, and we sent it to Rick Grinnell, okay? We documented this, we sent it to Rick Grinnell, we took dates and times, and he did absolutely nothing about it.
Oh.
Well, there are some people that are benefiting from the election manipulation also. And some people just don't have the knowledge to understand what's actually going on. There's some innocent people out there. That's why good people are taken advantage of, because we don't see evil. I didn't see evil when evil first came to me. Evil took advantage of me. Evil deceived me before I acknowledged it. And once I got screwed a few times, I was like, oh, there are bad people here. Because my mom had done a very good job of shielding me from all the bad people. I didn't realize there were bad people. Then I started finding bad people. I said, ooh, I don't like them. And then being in the IT industry, when my job is to protect people's computers from bad guys, I had to start thinking like a bad guy and say, okay, what would a bad guy do with this scenario or this situation? How do I need to protect it? Where would they break in here? And so I approach the election system the same way. The people that have been making the decisions to switch out from the citizen-run elections to all these other computer devices that are used to run our elections, I'll bet most of them just got sold on the convenience factor, and they never bothered to think or ask experts, what could a bad guy do with this? What type of abuse vectors would this open up that someone might exploit to manipulate an election? I don't think they ever had that discussion. Now, some people that were implementing all of it clearly knew exactly what they were doing. Because this system could not be designed this poorly by accident.
Yes.
It is designed in a way, it's purposely complex. It's purposely compartmentalized in order to hide the ability to manipulate. And then the people that know how to manipulate it. And there's so many different ways they have to manipulate it. I'm going to go over some of those. All right. But I wanted to show you the Sacramento County stuff because I thought that was really important. And I'm excited to go back to Sacramento County because I'm going back there very soon.
There, Courtney?
They fired her a couple years ago. Yeah. They finally, I think I'd given enough presentations where they're like, we got to get rid of her. But I'll tell you what, she was super nice. She tried to do the right thing. I don't think there's a bad bone in her body. And I want to find her and I want to thank her for giving me this vision of what's going on inside there. Because I'll tell you, these pictures went right to the White House. The night I took them, they got to the White House. Now, I don't know what happened in the White House and why nothing ever went on. Although I do know that there are a lot of people that were covering up. There are a lot of people blocking Trump. There's a lot of people, part of that deep state, they know elections are rigged. They set up the system to rig them. And they're perfectly happy with it. They don't want anyone to know, and they certainly don't want it fixed. So they did everything they could to block all that information getting to the people that it needed to get to. Yes?
How did he win it the first time?
How did I what?
How did he win the first time?
Oh, how did he win? I'm going to go into that. I actually have a slide on that.
Okay.
Yes, and I'm glad you asked because that tells me my slides are correct because you're wondering exactly what I put a slide together for. Yes, sir.
Have you looked at Albert system?
Albert Sensors is what you're talking about, yes. And Albert Sensors was a little bit of another distraction. Now, an Albert sensor is a device that CISA and CIS and CISA, okay, one's a private organization and one's a government organization and a nonprofit, okay? And they kind of work together based on what they need to do to avoid certain things. That's why you have this government agency and then you have this non-government agency that work in tandem. But anyway, what they do is they make this thing called an Albert sensor. And they've been pushing these sensors out to as many counties as they can get them installed in. And they tell the counties, it's so we can monitor for attacks, internet-based attacks and threats that are coming into your network. Now, back in the day, there were IT people like me, and we, IT people, would watch our own networks. And we would be responsible for all that. We would install what's called an IDS, or an intrusion detection system. We would install that and take care of that. What's happened is people are getting lazy in our society, if you haven't noticed. And everyone wants the easy button. And so what the government did, how nice of them, is they said, we made these sensors, and we'll put this sensor in, and we'll take this load off of you. We'll monitor your network for you. And a lot of people are like, oh yeah, that sounds great. Less work for us? You'll do it for free? Sure. And so they started installing these. Now, I don't know how many of these are out there, but what they are, they're just a computer running open source software. And this is what I was told by a representative at CISA. They are a computer running some software that the government puts into your county, and they monitor your stuff. Now, I started looking at the questions that were being asked by the agency to the IT staff, and they were asking a lot of details about the county networks, like how many servers do you have? What servers do you have? What are their IP addresses? What are the user accounts? What are passwords do you use? A lot of very invasive questions that myself as an IT professional, I don't care the government asking. They're going to get a big fat no, none of your business. Because it's my network, and they are expecting people to hand out information that would make it very easy for someone to break into their network. So here's how this could work out. If I was a bad guy and I had access to that government agency, I would tell people, we'll install this sensor here for you, and we'll protect you and everything. And then I'd ask them a whole bunch of information about their network, and then I would have everything I need to know to get into every part of their network and compromise everything. I'd be able to, and a lot of these county networks are connected to the police department as well, all their evidence, all their personnel records. Can you imagine the amount of dirt you could get on people to be able to remotely control, blackmail, threaten, bribe? Do you know how much evidence you could manufacture and stuff into cases and manipulate if you had access to inside county networks? So I would say it's a really bad idea, and as an IT person, I would never let one of those things anywhere near my network. So everyone started focusing on Albert sensors, and there are a few people that went around saying, Albert sensors are hacking our elections. I have yet to see proof that an Albert sensor is hacking an election. Is it possible? Of course. I just don't see the proof yet. And my worry is if everyone just focuses on the Albert sensors only and misses all this other stuff, then we're not going to fix the problem. It may have nothing to do with the Albert sensors. That might just be used for political blackmail. Who knows? I don't know what the heck they're doing. I would never let one in my network. So I wouldn't focus on it. Bad idea. Don't let one in your county. If your county got one, get it out and get an IT person that knows how to set up their own IDS.
We've asked
Simple
the
as that.
question in Ventura, they will not answer it.
They won't answer it.
They will not answer it.
And I was going to run for Secretary of State of Colorado in 2022. I went to the NAS conference in 2021, the National Association for Secretary of State Conference. That's a long story, and usually I have about 3 or 4 hours to do my presentation, so I'm having to do this very quickly. But I went into the CISA table and I started asking questions, and I asked questions about Albert sensors, and about 3 or 4 questions in, this big guy walked in the room straight over, beeline to me, and asked me, what are you doing? I said, just asking some questions. He said, question time is over.
Oh. They've done that to us here in Ventura.
And
Not new.
yeah, and he said, you can leave the conference or you can leave the table right now. I said, okay, I'll leave the table. And I just started walking around. But don't worry, they sent 2 SWAT team members to follow me around for 4 days and dressed in all black with 2 rifles. That's a half-hour story in itself. And Katie Hobbs, the current governor of Arizona, tried to get me kicked out of the conference because she told all the other secretaries that I attacked her on an elevator. I'm telling you, I could tell you hours and hours and hours of stuff I've been through. But I got to get to the really, really important stuff. So
before you move on, just clarification, you keep saying Sacramento County. So you really mean the county of Sacramento, not the state of California in Sacramento, correct?
Sacramento County is where I went out to for that elections
You were
department.
really monitoring the county,
Yes.
like Ventura County,
Yes.
not the Secretary of State in Sacramento, aka the California voting?
Did you go to
Was
the
that a
county
county
servers,
system
were
or
they county
state?
servers or were they state servers?
County,
County servers.
county, yeah, it was Sacramento County Registrar of
In the
Elections.
state of California.
No.
Okay, so there's my contact info. If you need my info, please take a picture of this slide. Take it anyway so you have it, because you might realize in 2 weeks, oh my gosh, I got to get a hold of Mark on something. And what I'll do is I'll take my slide deck and I'll put my whole slide deck on the website, so you won't have to take pictures of any other slides, because you can just download the PDF and you'll have all my slides.
What's the name of your website?
handcountroadshow.org. It's right at the top of this screen. And my phone number's right below it. Don't email me, because I never check my email. I get so many emails, I can't keep up, and I use a newer system than email. Email's like faxing. I don't know why people are still using email. You guys need to get with the time. But my phone number, you can call me or text me if you need, and I'll get back to you. Text me is best, and because I'm usually either doing a presentation or I'm on the phone, and I'm trying to do everything I can. I'm pulled in a million different directions. I'm just going to give everything I possibly can to this to try to save this country, and I don't have to worry about it if I did enough. It's stupid. I'm basically committing financial and retirement suicide right now, which is the stupidest thing ever, but I'm going to put all this in God's hands. Yeah. So I was Tina Peters' lead forensic expert, also in this fun little mess of everything. And Tina Peters was a clerk in Mesa County, Colorado, that saw there was a problem in her election. She wanted to examine the system. And the Secretary of State, the voting system vendor. Are you guys a Dominion County here?
Yes.
Okay. Oh, Dominion wants me.
Just
Well, right. Only 6? Okay, because they've been forcing everyone for 10 years. By the way, anyone that signs a software contract for more than 3 years is an idiot.
Yeah.
Now, hopefully you have an out in that. Check your contract, get a copy of your contract, make sure you have an out. Now, 9? I do believe that Dominion Voting Systems has materially misrepresented their product. And as such, no contract should be valid at this point. And in fact, they probably are liable to refund a whole bunch of money. And so that's not over yet either. But if Dominion wants to poke me, go ahead, I'm ready. So I was lead forensics for Tina Peters. I saw what was going on inside those Dominion systems. They are not safe and secure at all. They are not the gold standard. They are set up so poorly, actually, that I'm shocked no one has pulled them off the shelf yet. And I'll tell you, it's not like it's a secret. I have seen other test reports that have been done on these systems in older versions of Dominion, and they still have the same problems that were found years before. They never fix the problems because they don't care. It's not like they're incompetent. I don't think they could be this incompetent. And we know they suck because even Eric Coomer, who was like the lead developer at Dominion Voting Systems, in an internal email inside Dominion, flat out said, "We suck." That was his whole email when they were having all kinds of problems. Another one he said was, "We are so broken all over the place." And I'll tell you, Eric is a physicist. Eric is a very, very smart individual, very high IQ individual, very, very demonic individual. My personal thoughts on that. But he is very smart, and he was right about them sucking. They do suck. And they are broken all over the place. But that broken all over the place is not just because they're bad at programming. I think there are other reasons they're broken all over the place. The trusted bill that was done right after the election is the one Tina was trying to put off because she wanted to recount those ballots they had a city council totally flipped completely, all liberal, all conservative, and then flipped to all progressive candidates like that in one election. And it's a heavy conservative area, like 70 plus conservative. And that didn't make any sense to her, and neither did to the citizens, because the citizens started calling her saying, "There's no way this could be right. We don't even know who these people are." One of them had just moved there 3 months prior. How do you move to a city and in 3 months you win city council? You have to be a really great candidate for that, don't you? In addition to that, while she was still tabulating all the ballots, before they even got the totals, one of the representatives for one of the progressive candidates called her and said, "We won. And we won by X number of votes." And Tina said, "I don't know how you would know that. We're not even done putting the ballots through the machines yet."
Oh.
And so she wrote it off. Well, she got done putting the ballots through the machines and found out they were right. Somehow they knew the results before she did, before even the machine did.
Oh.
Yes, and I will explain how I think they know that, because I think I figured out what they're doing now. And I figured it out with a piece of information from Dr. Frank, who I met in, I think, May of 21. When I saw the work he'd been doing on the voter rolls, that was the last piece of the puzzle I needed, and the whole thing just clicked in my head. So anyway, I wrote 2 reports with Doug Gould for Tina Peters. That's what the QR code will take you to, and you can find it right on the website also under Get Educated, and then Colorado and Mesa County reports. Reports 1 and 2. Report 1 shows the voting system vendor and the Secretary of State came in and they wiped the whole voting system clean, put a whole new partitioning scheme, formatted the drives, and put a whole new voting system on top of the old voting system, overriding all the log files, all the databases, everything that you would need to examine to see if there's either funny business or if there was a bug in the system. I don't care whether it was an intentional thing or whether it was an accidental bug that caused it to miscount. It does not matter. In the end, you can't trust the results. But they wiped all that out. It's like going into a murder scene with a rag and Windex and wiping down all the walls. That's essentially what they did, the digital version of that. But luckily, Tina was smart enough to take a copy, an image of the voting system prior to them getting there. And when they found out she had that image, that's when they freaked out and raided her office. And she was also smart enough that when they were done doing their trusted build, which, by the way, they were there for 2 days to turn off one QR code feature is what they told her they were going to do. How long does it take you to turn off a feature on your phone? A couple seconds? They were there for 2 days. They kicked her out of her own office while they were working. They covered the windows up. And then they did this work in the background. She didn't know what they were doing. And then they said, okay, come on in. We're all done. So she had another image taken. That's the after image. And she knew if someone examined the before and the after, they could find out what they really did. I was the first guy that got to examine it. And I saw it. And that's exactly what they did. They wiped the whole thing out. Then the second report I did was, I was just curious, is the system actually safe and secure? I wanted to know. And it turns out it's not. It turns out within the first 15 minutes, I found a backdoor program on the voting system that allows you to flip votes.
Oh.
Have you guys really not seen this?
No.
Do you want to see it?
Yeah, of course.
All right, well, you're Dominion County, so
Can you hack into our Dominion?
I don't hack. I do not hack. I'm not a hacker. And people have asked me, will you hack an election? I'll let everyone know right now, no, I will not hack an election. I will not manipulate anything. I will not lie. I cannot be bought. I'm just bringing the truth out everywhere. I actually had someone I did a presentation. I showed them this. They came up after me seriously and said, what would it cost? I said, what cost? What would it cost to have me win? I said, I'm about to turn you in to the authorities right now, so I think our conversation's over. And he walked off. And I should have turned him in, but I was so shocked that someone would actually ask me that. Now, if someone asks me that, I will turn him in a heartbeat. So, all right, I will show you this. Hopefully it's set up. I wasn't planning on showing it to you, but let's see here. So I'll put a password in here. Now, it's a Colorado image, so I'm guessing you'll never figure out or guess what the password for Colorado's Dominion voting system is, right? Okay. I mean, this is how serious they are about security. It's a joke. It's a total joke. So here's what I saw. How many of you have Windows machines? Raise your hand if you got a Windows computer. Okay, over half. That's good. All right. So I clicked on the start button, and I just cruised through here. Now, there's a few computer people in the room, I'm sure. I saw SQL Server Tools on here, and I thought right away, oh boy, because under here is typically what's called SQL Server Management Studio. And Management Studio is another Microsoft program that lets you go right into the database, bypassing what's called the application software. So bypassing the Dominion stuff and go right in the database. And I thought, there's no way that's on here. Can't be. And I clicked on it. And there it was. And then I clicked on it to open it up. Now, SQL Server, just so you know, SQL Server is a database program. SQL Server is a database program. It stores information. And you would obviously think that a voting system might need to store information like ballots and totals and stuff. So it's not bad that it's using SQL Server. SQL Server is a great piece of software. It's used by millions of computers all over the world. But SQL Server Management Studio is a different program altogether. So it brought it up, and I was like, oh, well, it's obviously installed. It came right up. And then I've got an option here to just click connect without putting a password in or putting a password in. So I thought, well, I'm just going to click connect and see what error message I'm going to get. I never expected it to let me in without another password. So I clicked connect, and it opened right up. And then I saw databases here, and I thought, okay, what databases are on this thing? And I clicked on it, and they showed up, all the elections. And I'm thinking, how on earth could these people create a voting system that makes it this easy to get to this information? And they put the tool right on it. It's really stupid. And I saw 2020 Mesa County General. And I thought, I wonder if I can get in it. And I clicked on it, it opens right up. And then tables are areas that are in the database that store different pieces of information, different types of information. I clicked on that, and it pulls up a bunch of tables.
Wow.
I thought, you have got to be kidding me. It couldn't be this easy. And I saw this one called dbo.choice. And I know ballots have choices on them. So I thought, well, I'll try it. So I right-clicked. I clicked select top 1,000 rows. And it pulls it right up. And I saw Biden was a 1. And that what that tells me is when someone was programming this system to set this ballot up, the first entry they put in was Joe Biden. And then I figured if there's a 1, there's got to be a 2. And as you already know, I scrolled up and I was looking for Trump, and I found Trump, and Trump was a 2. So that tells me the first one they put in was Biden, the second one they put in was Trump when they were programming the system. Okay, here's what I thought. I thought, well, if I just flip the 1 and the 2, could I flip the whole election right there? Do I need to go try to figure out where all the ballots are? Or could I just change the identifier and flip a whole election that way? Is it that easy? And so before I did that, I wanted to see what the results of the election were. So I found this other little, it's called a stored procedure, little mini program in the database, and it's called contest results. And I wanted to see what the results of a contest was. I didn't know what contest number to put, and it's asking for a number. What's a good starting number?
One.
That's what I tried. I put a 1 in, and I clicked OK. And remember, God's kind of directed me on all this. So God made sure the presidential contest was 1. And there we go. Joe Biden, 31,000 votes. Trump, 56,000. And that was the result in Mesa County. So then I wanted to see, well, can I change that? Is it that easy to change? So I opened up tables again. I went to that same little choice thing here. I right-clicked. I selected edit. And it brought up this table. And I saw Biden there, and I saw the 1. And I figured, all right, I'll put a 2 here. And I'll press enter. And I figured I'll get an error message. Because it's one thing to be able to see it. It's a whole other thing to be able to change it. Seeing's not great. But changing is really bad. And it took it. No problem. Didn't beep at me. No error message. Nothing.
Isn't that a key field?
Nope. Of course not.
It's just a table.
Well, then now you've got a duplicate. For a moment there, you had a duplicate.
And it doesn't even detect that.
It doesn't
And
care.
it easily could.
That's
It
what
could
I
have been
said.
programmed to not allow duplicates. But they didn't do that. Plus, there's a thing called transaction logging, where it logs every change to the database. And that's disabled as well. So I put the 1 in there, and I flipped the 2 numbers now. Let's see if it changes the results.
Oh my God.
Okay, so we go back over here, and I'm going to rerun this report.
I would get fired from
Oh, God.
all my clients if I did something.
So I've rerun the report, and there you go. Biden, 56,000, Trump, 31,000.
There it is.
That's how it happened.
Now, that's not how it happened, right? We don't know that. This is how it could happen, okay? We don't know, but it's built in. The tool's there.
They can.
Now, in addition to that, there's a lot of other things. For instance, the firewall on this thing is set up to open up ports right to the database. The database is on a default port. It's open up from any IP address in the world. They could have locked it down. They didn't even bother doing that. They specifically selected all IP addresses. They can connect.
Could happen
to the database from anywhere. From anywhere. It's almost like it's set up to make it really easy to get in to make changes like this. And I found another backdoor as well. And actually, it's about 30 feet from me. Let me grab this and show you this because it's important to drive this point home since I'm here anyway.
So if we went to paper ballots, would that solve all this problem?
Still gotta count.
Well, let me get over here. So you already have, do you not have paper ballots here?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
I mean, paper-
Paper ballots are still put through a tabulator. This doesn't help you at all, right? Hand counted paper ballots, yes. And don't fall for that little game either. Because here's the game they play, and they do this in Colorado, it drives me nuts. The citizens, they just want paper ballots. They think paper ballots is the thing you say. So the citizens say paper ballots. And the election officials, they say, oh, okay, well, you already have paper ballots, little peasants. So you're okay. Yeah, you have paper ballots. Because the citizens think paper ballots hand counted, but they don't say hand counted paper ballots. They just say paper ballots. And so these people know what they're doing. They think we're all stupid. And we have given them reason to think we're stupid because stupid is as stupid does. And we've been doing really stupid things because we have just allowed them to take our elections from us. Okay, so this is a flash drive. And I'm just going to plug it in to my computer here. So here it is. I have to plug it in the right way. Okay, now I'll keep my hands up here. Watch the screen. So what this is doing is this is using a different backdoor utility called SQLCMD that you get it through the DOS prompt, which most people don't use anymore. But this little utility is still on there. And this allows you to go right into a database and make changes to it. All by the keyboard, which this little flash drive is not just a normal flash drive, it's also a keyboard emulator. And it just went in and made changes to the database. Now, I programmed it so it would show up on the screen, but it could have happened instantly without ever showing on the screen. I could have plugged it in, waited a second, and pulled it out. Now, let's run the report again. All I did was plug that in. Okay, here we go. There you go, Biden 31,000, Trump 56,000. So all I did was plug that flash drive in, and it flipped the results of the election using a different backdoor utility. See, these are the things I'd like to ask Dominion. Like, Dominion, why do you have backdoor utilities on there? Why do you have your firewall set up that way? I mean, you tell people that these are safe and secure and your website has all these amazing features on it that you claim, but yet when I've examined it, you have all these really stupid mistakes that you've made, all these oversights that don't seem to be very secure. I would like some answers. I'd love them to answer those questions on the stand would be great. And maybe I'll get that opportunity soon. So I could go on and on about all kinds of other little backdoors and other problems. Do you know about the web server that's running? The internet web server that's running on the voting system? On the server? Oh, you didn't know that one either? Oh, okay. I mean, I could go into that too. Why would they have a web server running on a voting system? Isn't that weird? Yeah, okay. So if you look on your phone, look for wireless networks, and tell me the first person that sees wireless backdoor. Do you see it? See how quick you guys are. You don't see it yet? You see it? Okay, there we go. So this is not just a keyboard emulator. This little flash drive is also a wireless access point. And someone could sit in the parking lot right now with this thing plugged in. They could connect to wireless backdoor network and flip results in this election.
Wow.
There is no way you can secure these systems no matter what anyone does. They cannot be secured. So I don't want to hear people say, well, I think we just need better testing. Or we need better oversight. Or we need hash validation. Sorry, there's nothing you can do to secure them. I don't care. Every system is able to be penetrated. Okay, I'm going to unplug that because I don't want you guys screwing with my presentation. All right. And I know we've only got about 15 minutes left, so I'm going to go through some other stuff. But I wanted to talk about the Sacramento. I think that was really important to share with you. And I wanted to show you this because you are a Dominion County. I wouldn't trust these systems anywhere. You guys should get rid of them as fast as possible. And I'm not saying just Dominion. Don't use electronic voting systems at all. But it's not just electronic voting systems that are the problem.
How long would it take you to get into a Dominion voting system?
I'm not going to answer those questions. They don't make it hard. Okay, so Tina Peters got attacked because she caused people to look into these systems. And this big illusion they put on for so many years, they put a lot of effort into creating. And to question their illusion freaked them out. So they're punishing Tina. That's why they put her in prison for 9 years.
No.
She's a Gold Star mother. She's in Colorado State Prison right now. She's in prison this minute, right now. She's 69 years old, Gold Star mom, Navy SEAL son, who passed away a few years ago in a parachute accident.
They killed her husband.
Husband's gone, father gone. She's got no one in her life left, and she stood because the state did it, and it's not a federal issue. However, she was protecting federal election records. And because she was protecting federal election records, the state shouldn't have been able to touch her, and we have an appeal coming up. So I'm also going around the country telling her story, trying to support what she did, because I'll tell you what, she's the bravest person I know. And, absolutely. And she risked it all for her fellow citizens, for her county, and for her country. And half the people in her county think she's a criminal, because what they have done is they use the media in the county to lie about her. And so all these people in the county, half of them think she's actually a criminal and tried to manipulate the election. It's the most disgusting thing ever. She is in there fighting for people that hate her and think she's a criminal.
I have two
Yeah.
devout Christian friends that live there, and they don't hate her or anything, but they're like, she's kind of a nutcase. I mean, they've been.
I'm happy to talk to them anytime.
Right.
I know Tina well. I've been on the inside of this. I will open their eyes. Plus, there's a pastor there that has been lying about her and actually claimed that she stole his identity when he actually gave his identity up. He completely perjured himself in court, and that was her trial to put her in prison. And he's a pastor at a local church there that has done this to her, and he's got a lot of people that go to his church, and so he's got all these people completely bamboozled. I know he lied because he told me that he was in on the whole thing face to face, and then he went and did 180 in the trial and completely flipped on her. So it's been a long time. All right, let's get through a few, because I got to hit some really important points. You need to have this. You need to know this stuff. And I need another hour or two with you guys. I really do. I wish I had that opportunity. And if anyone, I'll say this: if you want to get together tomorrow morning before I head out, I might have time. So text me if you do, and I'll check my schedule and see if I can. So 2024, it was a win illusion. We didn't really win. It was a strategic win we were given. Okay, they could have just taken it from Trump again. They did it in 2020. They stopped counting in the middle of the night, right? They stuffed a bunch of ballots in, and they started again. Nothing's changed. They could have done that again. But if they did that again, the whole country would have known, okay, the thing's rigged. Even the people on the left would know, yeah, it's rigged, but we won. But they know it's rigged. And then if they know the whole thing's rigged, then no one will keep using the election system anymore. And their most important thing to them is the election illusion system. They have to make sure the citizens believe that it works, or the citizens will get rid of it. And they use this system to stay in power and stay in control while they play all of us. So their strategy was to let Trump win right away. Notice they didn't fight, right? That night we knew, right? Hillary didn't break plates like she did last time. Kamala didn't destroy her hotel room, right? They just took it. Oh, Trump won. Darn, Trump won. Oh, darn. And then half of us went, oh, yes, he's in. We're good. Let's go have a beer. We did it. And then disappeared, right? I knew that was going to happen. I told people for years this is what they're going to do. And they're going to use that Trump win to convince and destroy half the election integrity movement, if not the entire movement, and say, you're all foolish. If elections were rigged, he wouldn't have won. And all the people that were there, the rainy day, well, Trump won, so I'm not going to fight anymore. So the only people left are the ones that are like me, and probably some of you that said, oh no, I didn't just do this for 4 years. I'm not buying that. And I knew what they were going to do. They're going to give Trump the win right away without putting up a fight, so they didn't attract any attention, and they're going to steal all the down ballots.
No.
And they spent a month stealing all the down ballots, and they stuffed everything they could, everywhere they could, to take them. So this is the game. We are being set up. These people are not stupid. They're very smart, and this is not their first rodeo. They're professional election thieves. They've been doing it for a long time. It's an art, and they have the right people, and they know everything about us. They look at all of our elections, and they're way ahead of us. But we are catching up really fast, and they did not expect that. They don't like me. They don't like people like you that are still focused on election reform and election integrity, because they tried to shake us off and they couldn't do it. And we're growing in numbers, and that's what we need to do. Every time we don't get our way, we just need to grow in numbers, and we will take all this. We're going to win. The only question to me is how long it's going to take us. The faster we get organized, the faster we'll fix this. If we don't get organized and focus our resources on the right things, this will take forever. This may take past our lifetime. And I don't think our kids can inherit this problem. They'll never be able to do it. They don't have enough experience and knowledge and courage yet. So it has to be us. We have to do it. We cannot leave this to our children. They'll fail at it. We can't hand this country and this state to our children, period. And we have to fix this right now, because what's coming is they're going to steal the House and the Senate and every other down ballot in the 26th election coming up. They are preparing to do that right now. They're already putting everything in place. Everything we're seeing right now are distractions. These 1,000-year floods, they're distractions. I'm not getting into who's doing it or not, okay? Even if it's happening by God, which I doubt, they are capitalizing on it to keep the peasants distracted. So they're giving us the bread and circuses so we don't fix the elections. And that's, I think, what Trump's message was about that, don't focus on the Epstein thing when he mentioned the election. There's still a 2020 election. He knows the clock's ticking. He knows if we don't fix the elections, everything that him and his administration does right now will be temporary. Okay, we'll have about another year, maybe a year and a half, that 26th election will happen. We'll lose it bad. The power will shift. They'll neuter Trump, and we'll be back in that 2018 to 2020 phase again, and then they'll steal the 28 totally.
They stole those seats in 2020 midterms last time.
Yep. They remember the red wave? What happened to the red wave? The red wave was a psyop. They had us believing there's a red wave, so we thought, oh, we're good. We don't have to worry about anything. And we all sat there and we watched no red wave, and they sat back and laughed at us. Okay? We are getting outplayed. We got to get focused now. And I'm in it at this point, and I'm not giving up. And I've got lots of strategies set up. So I need you guys to find out who's serious about fixing this problem. And we need to focus the resources where they need to be focused right now. I know there's a lot of problems out there. I know we've got, the child trafficking and sex trafficking and the problems with our food supply and all this other stuff. I know that. And we can focus some time on that. But if we do that and we don't focus on fixing our elections, every repair we get in that will be very short-lived. It'll all be temporary, and we will be in so much of a worse place. I'm warning you. I'm begging you. Please focus every effort and resource you have on the elections. We have no choice. They know we know now, and they don't care, and they're going to steal it unless we stop them. That's it. I've got ideas, but see, I need more than an hour and a half to give you those ideas. That's the problem. So, we have 15 minutes left. Okay, cold hard reality. You can't win a war if you don't know you're in one. Okay? Oh, is it 9? Are we good? Okay. All right. You can't win a war if you don't know the goals of your enemy. You can't win a war if you don't know their tactics. You can't win a war if you don't know their tools. And you can't win it if you have no strategy. And if you have inferior weapons, you're not going to do too well either. So we have to address all those areas. Now, who do elections belong to? They belong to us, right? This country is ours. Those people in our government are our servants. They have forgot that. They don't think they're our servants. And even worse, there are citizens walking around this city right now, this county, this state, this country, that think the government run them. They think the government's their leaders. They don't even realize this country belongs to them. They don't understand what the United States of America is. It's very different. And so we have to help the citizens realize what the heck the United States even is. Okay? This is an experiment in self-governance. We run the show. So we need a little reset in the minds of the people in government, and we need a reset in the minds of the citizens so they can stop thinking they're peasants, because they're not. They own this whole thing. We own this whole thing. Those people work for us, and we use our election system to measure our will so we can choose who we want to represent us and work for us and what laws we want to follow. And if we don't have control of our election system, we're not the ones choosing it. We have no freedom. We are just all slaves to the system.
Yes.
And that's what we've been for quite a while. So I don't know about you, but I'm kind of done being one. I'm not going to be one. Give me liberty or, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Some of the boxes that said made in China,
Mhm.
when our prior county recorder did the very first original demonstration of the Dominion machines, he said they were manufactured in Venezuela and Canada. And now that's not true.
Well, the box says made in China. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter where they're made. They could be made in the United States of America, and we can't trust them.
That's right.
I don't care where they're made.
I know, but
Yeah.
do you think China's involved?
Of course.
I think everyone's involved. Everyone's got their hand in the cookie jar. That's the problem. We have a big cookie jar with a massive opening and a whole bunch of holes in it. Everyone's got their hands in it. And those are our cookies.
Except for us.
In
Okay.
2022,
Mhm.
China was caught making ballots for the U.S. elections.
Yeah, the whole thing is riggable in a million different ways. Okay, so I'm not going to go into the election illusion. You understand how the woman got cut in half, right? Did I just ruin the trick for you guys? I hope not. All right. I'm not going to show you the magic show. Listen, there's a lot of control mechanisms for elections. There's bribery, blackmail, threats, political manipulation, mainstream media, social media, technological, big tech, public education, and selection placement, where they actually just give you bad choice 1 or bad choice 2 to choose from because they rigged the primaries and everything else they rigged. The whole thing is rigged. Rachel Hamm ran for Secretary of State here a few years ago, okay? I was her witness to watch the whole voting process. I saw what they did for the votes there. I saw they rigged the whole thing. They already had the slides with the results pre-made. All those little clickers were doing nothing, but no one had any idea. I caught them putting pre-made slides up on the screen. This is how rigged this. This is our own party that rigged it. Because if you're not in the club, you ain't in. Just like George Carlin said, right? It's a big club and you ain't in it. Okay? He's right. George Carlin was way ahead of his time. And if any of you have not listened to George Carlin, go back and listen to George Carlin. He's a brilliant guy. He's actually, my dad was friends with him, crazy enough. Isn't that weird? Back in the day. Okay, so what I focus on is the technological manipulation, at least in this talk. Now, I can get into the other stuff too, but technological is the big deal. So there's 4 main legs to the election stool: voter registration, voter validation, tabulation, and reporting. Okay, the voter validation system controls the number of ballots that are in circulation. If that's just a database somewhere, and your county might think they have control of it, they likely do not. Okay, and if someone injects a bunch of extra entries in that database, all those extra ballots are going to be floating out there. So what a bad guy would do is they put a bunch of extra entries in the database, either just by injecting them or by using the traditional legal means to do it, because they just cut the corners and add some entries in there. And then they harvest those ballots. They usually go in as undeliverable, bad addresses don't exist. Sometimes the mail carriers actually harvest those and are paid for them. Sometimes they go back to the USPS. And I've had USPS postal workers tell me this. I have a postmaster that has whistleblown on the USPS. They said the USPS is in on the whole thing at the management level. Up at the top, they're in on the election fraud.
That's
In
why
fact,
the guy came down in Pennsylvania from the top, the level 24 manager came down to the dock and made that trailer disappear.
Mhm.
I work for the post office.
Okay. And I will tell you, that guy that was driving the ballots across state lines that we were all told was fake and made it all up, he was in that hotel with me. He was scared out of his life. He was just a normal citizen. I met him. I shook his hand. He was not making anything up. He was a scared citizen blowing a whistle. Okay? I mean, literally, the fraud is in our face. It's everywhere in our face. And the postmaster told me what they do is either the mail carriers, if they're crooked, and a lot of times what they do in these small rural places is they hire contractors as mail carriers. So they hire the contractors, of course, who goes for the contracting jobs, right? People that want to manipulate the election. And they harvest the ballots as they go out to people that don't exist. They fill them in and they shove them back into the system. And we never see them. And your county never knows because your county just blindly and stupidly goes off the database the state gives them to use. That's the front-loaded manipulation. That's one way they manipulate it, and I think that's how they're doing it most of the time now. But there are many other methods of manipulating it. And yeah, I've had USPS people tell me this is what happens. Okay, so that's the voter registration database. Massive problems. Shiloh's going around cleaning your voter registration databases right now, which is great. However, I've asked him a million times, and I would like to meet Shiloh and talk to Shiloh because I've asked him, what are you doing to fix the system that allowed the dirty records in there in the first place?
And how do you know that they won't?
And how do you know they won't show right back up? Because if anyone knows computers, you click one button and all those entries could be back like that. I mean, literally, you can spend 6 months removing 2 million records that aren't supposed to be in there, and in one click of a button, those 2 million records are back in the system right before the day before the election. Right? There's no way to control it. We have a broken system. So just cleaning them alone is not good enough. So I want Shiloh to contact me, and I want to have a discussion about how do we actually fix the system so we don't have the same problem
When you talked to
again.
him, he said he cleaned 54,000 from our county rules.
Mhm.
How is it that there's 54,000 and need to be cleaned 6 months after our election where everything's supposed to be clean?
I know. It's like sweeping a dirt floor, as Sean Smith says. Yeah. So we need to fix the problem. Okay. Then you have the voter validation system, which we're told, don't worry if all those ballots are floating out there. We check the signatures when they come back. Okay. Now, you guys, do you have an Agilis machine from Runback that checks the signatures, or do people actually check the signatures?
Both.
Both? Okay. So let's talk about the people. Is anyone in this room that has been a signature verifier?
No, we've observed
Like,
them.
like
We've
pure
observed
ballots?
We've observed them.
Observed. Okay.
We're observers.
Okay. You observed it, but you weren't actually a verifier. Okay. So I've asked the verifiers, were you trained?
So we were allowed right there.
I've asked the verifiers, were you trained? And most of the time what I hear is, yeah, we had 15 minutes of training. Sometimes I hear, no, we weren't trained. We were just trained on the job, like right when we were doing it. The longest I've ever heard was 2 hours of training. Then I asked this. I asked, well, what grade did you have to get on the test before you were allowed to actually verify signatures for real, right, when they tested you? And so what do you all think the minimum required score is on that test?
30%.
30%? Anything higher? 90? So a lot of people say 90%. That's an A, right? Okay. Let's just say it was 90. That's an A. Okay. If you make 10% error, if you get a 90, right, that means you make 10% error. That means 1 out of every 10 ballots you don't allow through when it should have allowed it through, and you disenfranchised a voter, or you allow a ballot through that was a forgery, which means that ballot you just allowed through disenfranchised someone else, right? So you would induce 10% error in the election if you got a 90. So what should it be?
100%.
It should be 100%. Okay, there's no test. I've never found anyone in this country that's actually given a test. What it should, here's what you do. You give them 100 signatures. Some of them are forgeries and some of them aren't. And you have them go through it. And then you gauge them. And if they get 100% of them right, then they should be allowed to do it. You could hire a professional forensic document analyst that has 2 years of schooling, training, and certification, and they're not going to get 100%. So it is 2025. Should we have any election system that built in allows any citizen to be disenfranchised of their vote? Would you be okay if that was your son or your daughter that just turned 18 and is really patriotic and is so excited to vote, and you're like, well, unfortunately, this system is problematic, and so, 10% of the votes, get disenfranchised anyway, so would you be okay with that? Of course not. This is 2025. We have no reason not to count every single vote of every single citizen. Okay, So let's just assume you have an envelope, a mail-in ballot, and you guys probably have mail-in ballots here, right? Yes, of course. This is commie format, right? Colorado's bad too, don't worry. So you have a mail ballot, okay? Let's just say we had a forensic document analyst look at that signature, and he spent an hour looking at the signature versus the reference. And he said, there is no question, absolutely, it's a valid signature, and that is the signature. Okay, so let's put that aside and assume it's a valid signature, and all the other information checks out. Now, we open up the envelope, and we pull the ballot out, right? We separate it. When we pull the ballot out of the envelope, how do you know who filled the ballot out? Then what are we checking a signature for?
Exactly.
No, that's true.
That's our
That's a
argument.
good point.
That's the elephant in the room that everyone has to understand. And we've been going for years, and I'm like, people, it's a fugazi. Exactly, right? It does not matter. It's all smoke and mirrors. It's a distraction. The whole signature verification, it's a dog and pony show, right?
Isn't it valid? Look how great our elections are.
We do signature verification. You have, it's the illusion. It's just to feed the illusion, because there's no way you can know who filled the ballot out to begin with. And if you don't know who filled the ballot out, you cannot check the eligibility of that voter because you don't know who the voter is. And if you can't check the eligibility of a vote, how can we legally tabulate a vote without violating Article 4, Section 4 of our Constitution, which guarantees this Republican form of government? It's really simple. Mail-in ballots violate Article 4, Section 4.
They also violate the California Constitution.
I'm sure of that, and probably every other state too, right? We have a massive problem there. So mail-in ballots is a total joke. Now, of course, some people need an absentee ballot, same thing as a mail-in ballot, essentially. And we create a hole in the election system when we have an absentee ballot. So when you create a hole, what do? Well, you fortify other parts of that to compensate for the hole you just created. You just made the system less secure. So you employ additional layers of protection to make up for it. You don't just say, well, we're going to open it up to everyone, right? We made a hole, so let's just make 1 million holes. You don't do that. That's what stupid people do. And we're done being stupid. So that's the validation. It's a total joke. Tabulation. Those are the black boxes that count our votes. I think we just showed you why you can't trust those, right? This guy right here? Yeah, and every other reason. Okay, so we're not going to spend any time on that. Reporting. So even if there's no manipulation anywhere else in the first 3 legs of the stool, that last one's also problematic. That right there is when your clerk takes the results from the voting system. Does anyone know how they get from there to the TV screen? How do they get to Channel 9 on election night and show up on the TV ticker?
The internet. They go to the
Edison Research is part of it. Yeah. Cital Clarity is another one, right? So it goes through these hands. New York Times as well. I mean, you know that it all goes through the media, goes through the New York Times actually controls all these election results as well. It's crazy, right? So here's what your clerk does. And I started asking these questions and no one knew the answer. Even clerks didn't know the answer. I'm like, how can you run an election and not know how your results get to the TV screen? But a lot of them hadn't even wondered that themselves, which is bizarre to me. So I asked a few of them. I said, show me what you do. And they said, oh, here's the email I got from our Secretary of State. And I looked at the email. I'm like, that's not your Secretary of State link. That's a link to Cital. When you click on that, you're uploading them to a company in Barcelona, Spain.
Oh.
They didn't know that.
Ventura does that.
And
Look at the Ventura website.
so they've been uploading it to this company called Cital. Now, some of them, Clarity Elections. Well, it turns out Clarity Elections is the U.S. subsidiary of Cital. Same company. And then what they do is they take all the results from the clerks, and then they make a pretty little web page with graphs and stuff. And then they make it look just like your Secretary of State site. So they put your logo on it in the same colors, same look and feel. And then your Secretary of State links that election result page. When you click on it, it goes to this page. It looks like it's still staying on the Secretary of State site, but actually it's pulling a page. In a lot of cases I've seen it's called an iframe. And they've changed it, how they're doing it now. But it pulls the information from Cital and makes it look like, again, illusion, makes it look like it's your Secretary of State site. So your Secretary of State is essentially having your clerks use some other company to add up all the totals for you and then reporting it back, and you're looking at what totals they come up with, not totals you came up with or your own elected officials added up themselves. So if you can't control the reporting side, of course, that company that's handling it could just change the results, right? We don't have control of any 4 of these legs, and that's the problem. Now, the last thing I've got to leave you with is you've got to know how elections are manipulated. I'm going to take you through the 3 orders of election manipulation, because the number 3 is critical you understand, because then you'll know what you need to do to fix this. Okay, first order election manipulation. If a candidate lies about the opponent, and then people cast their votes and you collect the ballots, you tabulate them, and you get the results, you can manipulate an election that way, right? We've all been lied to. Politicians have lied, and we vote based on that lie. Obama got me the first time. I'm sorry. Don't throw anything at me. I know. Hey, someone else in this room voted for Obama the first time, right? There we go. There we go. Yeah. Hey, I just saw some hands go up, so hey.
Not a chance.
All right. So here's second order manipulation. Between collecting the ballots and tabulating the ballots, what if we took that ballot box and we moved it off to the side? And what if we counted the totals to determine the real result? And let's say Bob and Mary were running against each other, okay? And we realized Mary's down by 10 votes. How could we get Mary to win if we have the ballots off on the side?
Take them on to account.
We could fill in some undervotes. If people didn't leave, if they didn't vote for either Bob or Mary, we could just fill in some Mary votes, right? Don't leave undervotes on your ballots, by the way. Never leave an undervote. We could also add some Mary votes to it. And if we were going to add those ballots, and some people might say, well, that's not going to match the number of check-ins we had on the poll books. Well, obviously, we're smart criminals, so we'll inject them in the poll books, and then we'll inject the ballots. And I know they're doing this because we caught them in Texas injecting entries in the poll books in real time. We saw the numbers changing. The clerks, the judges at the voting center, the clocks were off by an hour because of daylight savings. So the bad guys probably thought they were already stored away in the box, but they still had them out, and they were watching them. People were checking in, and they weren't checking anyone in. They were just doing it by itself. So that you add Mary ballots in, or you could throw some Bob ballots away, right? Okay. And then you tabulate them, and you get the results, and you've rigged the election. Okay. That still happens to this day also. That's why chain of custody is so critical, that we don't break it. That's why you count the ballots where they're cast. You don't move them to another room. You don't move them to another building or another city, right? You count it right there. When the polls close, you count the ballots, right? You tabulate them right there. You don't wait till tomorrow either. I know, you can't wait till the next day. You say, oh, it's been a long day. You all go to sleep. You're tired. We'll count them in the morning, right? What's going to happen overnight? All right. So then let's say Mary was not popular. Let's say no one liked Mary. Would people believe that Mary won if you rigged it for Mary? They'd probably question it. So what you do then, if you have the media control, is you do some hit pieces on Bob, okay? You say Bob's under investigation for jaywalking. And then you do some puff pieces on Mary. Talk about how great Mary is, how good she is to her mother. And then maybe you have a concert and you use AI to make it look like there's a whole bunch of people at the concert that Mary has. And then people don't buy that. So you say, oh, darn, we got to get real people this time. So you get some buses and you pay people and you bus them into the concert and then take a bunch of pictures to give the illusion that Mary's popular, to condition the public to accept the result. Okay? I think you've been down this road. Is it fresh enough you remember it? Okay, all right. So now let's get into third order, and this is, I believe, what they are doing, and this is brilliant, and I don't think Trump even gets this. I don't think anyone in the Trump administration gets this yet, and I think a lot of people that are really high up in the election integrity movement haven't quite figured this stuff out, and it frightens me, and this is why I'm trying to get this in as many heads as possible, so hopefully we raise everyone's collective understanding of this. Okay, stage one. Okay. At mainstream media, FBI, DHS, CIA, and CISA propaganda tools for the bad guys. They tell us election officials are under attack to drive an artificial wedge between election officials and the citizens. They tell us to expect delays in results. This is the staging part. They tell us our elections are the gold standard. Everything is perfect. Everything is fine. They have a logic and accuracy test that they put on, a little dog and pony show, to not only convince the citizens that the system works fine, which is what they do is they take some test ballots and they put the test ballots through the machine, and if they get the right answers, they say the system's programmed fine. All that tells you is that it can count them correctly that one time, but it doesn't say it's always going to count them right. And really what that test is, it's not for the citizens, it's really to convince our election officials that the systems are good. That's the con, is on our election officials. They just pass the con on to us. And then once our election officials have told us it's safe and secure, they don't want to question it because they don't want to think they've lied to their citizens. So I'll tell you this also. Have a lot of forgiveness ready for your election officials that were victims also of a lot of these lies. Now, there are some bad ones out there, but a majority of them I found are actually good. They've just believed the people above them. They're not experts. They just think the citizens hate them, and they think the state loves them and will protect them. And they blindly believe the people above them and never thought that they'd be lied to by their boss. So,
No comments.
and some of them are bad, but not all. Okay,
Ventura-
so they have the logic and
Ventura, they
accuracy
failed the
test.
lab test, and they had to
Yeah,
fix
they
it.
pushed it through anyway.
Because
They
it's
failed it
They failed it
in front of everybody.
in front of us.
this is how much they just want us to use the system no matter what, right? Yeah, that's some good egg on their face, though. I'd love to have the details on that.
Oh, yeah.
So if you want to know what a joke the LAT test is, or the LAT is, look up Volkswagen Dieselgate,
Oh, yeah.
okay? Right? Volkswagen programmers got caught for rigging the car computer to detect whether it was on an emissions test or not. And if it was on an emissions test, it ran one algorithm. If it wasn't on an emissions test, it was on the road, it ran a different algorithm, so they could beat the emissions test. So if someone was able to do that, two people were able to do it and sell millions of cars all over the world just to sell some cars, don't you think someone might rig software in a voting system to steal a country?
Yes.
Yeah, of course, right? So they suddenly raise the margin of human error. They conduct a manipulated election. They design the risk limiting audit to limit our ability to see the fraud, okay? And here's what the risk limiting audit is. It's a joke. Okay, first of all, you guys have a 1%?
1%.
That's hilarious. Is it 1% of what, though?
Yeah, it is a 1% of one of one.
Exactly. So it's a 1% of something, and then you multiply all that out, and it's actually like a 0.00000 something percent. It's a joke. So what the risk limiting audit is, I'll give you a layman's explanation. Let's say pick someone. Okay, let's say you owned a grocery store. Okay. And you hired me as your new manager. And all the other managers were closing in about an hour and a half, but I'm closing in a half hour. And you can't figure out how I'm closing so quickly. And you come up to me and you say, Mark, you're amazing. I hired you only a week ago and you're closing in only a half hour and it took everyone else an hour and a half. What are you doing so great? And I said, well, I created this thing called a risk limiting audit that I do. And so what I do is I only check 2 of the registers at the end of the day. And if those 2 have the right amount of money in them, I just put check marks in all the others. And that's what the risk limiting audit is. It's not a risk limiting audit. It's actually a risk enhancing audit. Okay? That's the crazy thing. It's a risk enhancing audit that identifies as a risk limiting audit. And that is called a what? It's called a trans audit. You guys should know that here. You're in California. Come on. Okay. Don't misaudit me. Okay. Right. My pronouns are pissed off. Actually, that's what they are. Okay. So they explain any mistakes we do find. They say, oh, it's just an isolated error. What's the word they use all the time? It's a glitch. It's a glitch. By the way, you got glitched out of your freedom, just in case you were wondering, okay? It's a glitch. There's no glitches, okay? Glitches in computers happen when there's a hardware malfunction. That's when software glitches, okay? It's something that the software can't account for. In the hardware, that's a glitch. We're not having glitches, okay? We're having intentional manipulation being disguised as glitches, okay? Then if we find enough mistakes, they say, well, you're right, but we're not going to bother looking into it because it didn't affect the results of the election. Right? We've heard that over and over again. That's why we're starting to see all these patterns. Okay, so that's stage 1. That's the staging. Okay, now, they create headroom. They remove the citizenship citizenship question from the census. Do you remember that about 15 years ago when we couldn't figure out why they did that? Okay, what they did is they created a census system that we now cannot validate. Okay, because if illegals are on our census, how on earth are we ever going to validate the information on it? We're going to go find the illegal? By the way, do you really think there's a line of illegals coming in asking to fill our census out? Was that a movement? I missed it. Right? So it was just for them to abuse the census, okay? To abuse our population numbers. So it allows them to inject more entries into the census, to inflate the census, okay? To create headroom, so they can then inflate the voter registration numbers. Because if they don't inflate the headroom of the census first, you end up with more registered voters than you have in the county. And the peasants start to figure out there's a problem. And they've done that. Yes, I know. That's why we caught them. Yes. And then we don't want more voters than there are registered voters, because the peasants figure that one out too, because we're smart peasants. And so what they do is they've got to increase the number of registered voters as much as possible, because the real voters and the registered voters, this gap right here is the headroom that they manipulate the elections in. And they've got to create enough headroom to be able to counter the votes. And if a lot of citizens feel this way about something, that means they need a lot more headroom to work with. And that comes back to your question, what happened in 2016 and 2020, right? 2016, they couldn't pull it off. They didn't have enough headroom. They ran out of headroom in 16, and that's why they were so pissed, because it had been working so well for so many years, their little subtle manipulation. They hated the fact that Trump was so popular, and he broke it. They used up all their headroom. They weren't ready for it. That's why Hillary freaked out, started destroying her hotel room. That's why all the news freaked out, because everyone, it was preordained that she would win. Like that was, and all our presidents have been picked for the past many elections. Our presidents have been chosen for us. We just thought the elections were working because the illusion's that good. So Trump, our love for him broke their system, okay? That's what happened in 16. So they tell us that there's record voter registrations. They've got to condition the citizens, because we're going to see record voter registration numbers, right? But they're not real people registering. They're the fake registration entries that they're putting in the system. They even have voter registration drives, so you think, well, I saw a lot of voter registration drives, so maybe it makes sense that there's more registrations. They might even send someone all around the country registering voters to make it appear as though there's a lot of registered voters showing up in this system and they're all organic. But that person going around the country registering voters, if they are registering someone, they're registering voters that are low propensity, that don't usually vote. And if they don't vote and they get registered, someone can steal their voter registration record, tweak the address, harvest the ballot, right? So that's actually the most dangerous thing to do. And by the way, you don't flip a state by registering voters. Voting flips a state, but registering voters does not flip a state. So anyone telling you that you flip a state by registering voters is deceiving you. And then I would question everything else that individual also tells you. And you don't want to vote early. That's also really dangerous. And you're going to find out why voting early is bad. And we know mail-in ballots bad. So if someone's pushing mail-in ballots and early voting and telling you that registering voters flip states, they might be setting you up. All right, so they tell us record voter registration. They take the voter registration control away from the counties. Now they have the DMV doing it. Now they have all these NGOs that are doing it, because the whole goal is just to get as many entries in there as possible to make as much headroom as possible. They even register underage children to vote, okay? And they can't vote, but it does open it up to mistakes, like them accidentally getting ballots, which has happened. And then when they become 18, they automatically activate their records. How nice of them. So even if that kid is not going to vote, their record goes active automatically on their 18th birthday. Perfect opportunity to be able to harvest it and use it to send a ballot in for them. It's.
Didn't you push back on any of these?
I know. Of course, and that's how you know that it benefits them anytime you question it, because we're on to them. We know what they're doing now. Okay, They create phantom records, and typically what I've seen is they take an existing record and they copy it, they get a new voter ID, and they tweak one little thing in the record, like they change a letter in a name or one little part of the address. And because then if they get caught, they explain it away as a typo. These are professional illusionists, right? So they're not just going to pull them out of thin air. It's better to take an existing one so there's always a plausible excuse. These people are smart. And then if you do find a record that needs to be removed, they make it almost impossible. You could literally go register your, don't do this, but you probably could register your dog to vote. You could probably walk in with Fido and you could say, I'd like to remove this registration. My dog accidentally, he got registered to vote by accident. We'd like to remove him. And the election official would probably look at him and go, well, I see it's a dog, but by law, we have to wait for Fido not to vote in 2 elections before we can remove the record. Right? That's part of the scam too, right? Okay. So then, here's how they finish the deal. This is the feedback loop they've created, and it's brilliant. Okay. So, they, of course, use the mainstream media, FBI, DHS, CIA, and CISA, record voter participation. We get all that. Then, here's what they do. They let us cast our votes. And they watch. They monitor who votes. Why do you think they do that? Here's why. If I know your party affiliation, would I have a pretty good idea of what your ballot would look like? I'd be fairly accurate, right? Okay. What if not only do I know your party affiliation, but I have all your voting history? What if I go by all the other databases of information that are available also, like your geolocation data? What if I buy all your purchase data from Amazon? What if I buy the credit card data from Visa and see where you shop and what you buy? All the databases are out there. You've agreed to all your data being taken, all those terms of service that none of you ever read, and you just click OK because you want that free software?
Yeah.
That's what it's giving them ability to do, and that's a big business. Collecting that data and selling that data is big business in itself. It's not free. Gmail, perfect. Every email you've ever sent in Gmail, right? Or Yahoo. Or Microsoft. They're able to mine all of that. And so imagine you're a bad guy and you want to manipulate elections. And you buy all that data and you're a bad guy, so you have plenty of resources to do it, right? We know there's billions of dollars in elections, right? So you buy all these databases. Now, what if I had a database on you and I knew everything about you? Everything. I would really know what your ballot's going to look like. I know how you feel about everything. So if I just knew what your ballot looked like, what races were on it, and I knew everything about you, and I knew you voted, I could build an election result model on the side here. And I could put credit for your ballot in this result model, a model of the election results. I don't even need to look at your ballot. I just need to know you voted. Now, how would I know that if you mail your ballot in? Well, these guys are real smart. I think I've said that a few times, right? Here's what they did. They created this mail-in ballot tracking system. And they created it and told us it's for us little peasants to feel comfortable voting by mail. And they told us that, so we'd pay for it. And if we caught them making it, we'd say, yeah, we asked for it. But it wasn't for us. It was for them. It was so they knew you voted by mail. And then they could add the credit for your ballot in the election result model they're building. Then, if you don't vote by mail and you go in person, you're checked in on an electronic poll book. And they know instantly there. Remember that electronic poll book that's on that APN on the SIM card that's in it, right? They know right away you showed up to vote there. And they add the credit for you in their election result model. So they've created a system that allows them to know what the results of the election are without ever having to look at a ballot. So they don't even need to have it go through the tabulator anymore because they'll know what the results are. Remember back when Tina got that call and they told her what the results were and that they had won? And she's like, I haven't put it through the machine yet. How do you know? So they build an election result model, and if they know what the results of the election are, and they know what they want them to be, they just subtract, and they know exactly what they have to stuff in. And they've got all this headroom they've created in the voter rolls.
It's a numbers game.
It's a numbers game. They've harvested the ballots. They've got all those mail-in ballots that are floating out there. They've got them, they fill them out, and they put them back into the system. And they get tabulated. Now, could they do this all in one day? It'd be really hard to do in one day. So they sold us another convenience. Are you shocked? Early voting. And early voting is not for our convenience. Early voting is for their convenience. So they have plenty of time to manipulate the election going up. And they need a few weeks to do this. And it turns out they've needed longer and longer to do it. Now, when they had early voting come out, let me ask you this question. Raise your hand if you are a procrastinator. Okay, so everyone that did not raise your hand are liars. Because we're all procrastinators. And that's what happened. When early voting came out, people were still waiting. And that wasn't helping them. So they needed to think of a creative way to scare people into voting early. So they did the whole, anytime there was a weather incident, what they do, all over the news. On election day, they talked about horrible election day weather incidents. Power going out, snowstorms, tornadoes. And they got everyone so scared that like, I better vote earlier, I won't be able to vote. And then the Maricopa County thing where they shrunk the ballot down, they had the long lines. And anytime there's a long line at a voting center, it's all over the news. It's to condition the public and channelize them to vote early. Even the RNC comes out with bank your vote, right? That was the biggest scam ever. All right. And I'm not saying Laura Trump is scamming us. She just didn't know any better because she's surrounded by people who are lying to her. Right? That was a scam. Anyone pushing early voting is scamming us. Now, they may not be intentionally doing it, but I'll tell you what, if someone won't even have the conversation about it, they refuse to talk, then they're scamming. And there are pastors that won't have that conversation. There are people very high up and very trusted in our movement that refuse to have the discussion about early voting.
Conspiracy theories.
Yeah. So isn't that a beautiful system? They're able to monitor the results, right? Stuff all the ballots in. Now, what they hate, though, is they hate election day voters. Because the election day voters they can't plan for. They have to be very conservative before election day. And then the election day voters, they have to right then stuff in all the extras that can counter them. And they can't do that all in one day. So what did we give them? Another week for ballots to keep showing up. Sometimes it's 2 weeks in the mail. Because the USPS is really slow. And they're really inundated because they're just more ballots in this election than they expected. So we don't want to disenfranchise someone. So we have to give it a couple of weeks for all the ballots to come in.
They have a month to count.
A month?
No, not for ballots to come in.
Okay.
Here's the problem with the mail-in ballot. It used to be when you had an absentee ballot, it would have to go through the canceling machine because you had to put a stamp on it. Now
Yeah.
it's pre-printed postage on it, so it never hits the canceling machine.
Yeah.
So you can stuff the ballot on Thursday, and that thing is going to be there on Tuesday.
The whole thing is a scam. The entire system is built to manipulate and put an illusion on for the rest of us. That's it. So then what happens when you front load all this manipulation like that, by the time the county gets it, they can recount those ballots all day long. They can have 100% audit. And they'll never catch it because all of the manipulation happens before it ever gets to the county. This is one of their tricks, and this is, I believe, the biggest one they've been doing. That's why COVID. They needed mail-in ballots to be able to shift enough. And they couldn't just tell us you're getting mail ballots. Everyone would have flipped their you-know-what. But what they did is they created an environment that the citizens begged for mail-in ballots because these people are sick criminals, and they are evil. And if people are so scared to leave their house and they want to vote, we have an election coming up, please give us mail ballots. They went from saying no to mail ballots to begging for mail ballots. These people are not stupid that are doing this to us. All right, then they've got the backup override. If they're still not able to pull it all off, what do they do at the very end? They did this in 2020. They override. They stop counting in the middle of the night. They stuff a bunch of extra in. They manipulate the voter rolls. They publish the target results that they want, and they tell us, don't worry, those are unofficial when we start questioning it, right? This is unofficial versus official results. And they say, just sit down, peasant. Just relax. You're fine. And then a week later or so, they get enough stuffed in, and they massage everything around, and they say, okay, these are the official results. And they always end up matching because they're so good at putting on the magic show. And then the seal and cleanup. They use the mainstream media, FBI, DHS, CIA, and CISA to condition us, tell us results will be delayed, right? They told us that, right, way before the election because they needed time to rig it. they were conditioning us to not freak out when there's delays. Oh, they kept telling us there were going to be delays. That didn't work on most of you, but it probably worked on a whole lot of citizens. They tell us there may be mistakes in the election. They told us that too. I made these slides way before the 24 election. We heard all this stuff. They withhold and destroy data needed to audit. They have the risk limiting audit they hide behind. Oh, it passed the 1% of the 1% of the 1% of the 1%. Little peasants. They explain mistakes away as isolated human error. They ensure mistakes are within the margin of loss. They rush and threaten to certify. Like, if you don't certify, you're going to go to jail. Because as soon as you certify an election, it raises the bar to question it. And if one county doesn't certify, the whole state can't certify. One county can hold the whole state up. That's why they're threatening people to certify. And they tell us there's no widespread election fraud. They mock and attack election deniers, and they tell us we are suffering from this new horrible disease called election denialism.
Do you live in Ventura?
It's not even in the DSM. Yeah. I haven't. Turns out I've been around though. Yeah. Is there a pattern here?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I'm starting to see it. So fourth order manipulation is when they start using AI. And by the way, they're using AI right now. Our next election, they will be using AI for all this. And what we've been seeing, we will not see any longer, more than likely. It'll probably be very difficult, if not impossible. They know that we know that we know that they know, right? All of it. Okay? So this is game on. This is it. This is the final hour. This is the fight for the United States of America. Either the patriots are going to save their country and they're going to push out the criminals, or the criminals are going to win. This is it coming up. So I would say direct your resources wisely. And I'm happy to have some discussions on how to best do that. I got some ways to do things. Think a little bit non-traditionally. Look at what they do. Look at their tactics. Their tactics are very non-traditional. Okay? We can fight similar tactics, but with honesty and good. But what we've been doing clearly has not been working. Look where we've gotten 4 years. Almost nowhere. And if we keep doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result, that is the definition of insanity. So let's change our approach and let's beat these a-holes.
Yeah.
Okay. So I've created a list of cabal tactics. There's page 1. There's page 2. I have a page 3 and 4 as well, but I haven't put them on here yet. So if you guys do want to know how they're doing things and what they're doing all across the country, contact me privately. I will get you my list. There's a little picture from the Dominion manual. Really simple, right? That's just a tabulation. That's not any of the other legs, just tabulation. So is blockchain going to save us? I want to put this one to bed really quickly, okay? There's some blockchain code. Would anyone in this room like me to go over all this code so you can understand a few of the algorithms? No? Okay. So we're not going to use blockchain, okay? Because no one understands blockchain, okay? The people that use it probably don't understand it. If every single citizen cannot understand and verify that their vote works and is accurately counted, we can't use the system. I don't care if one of you in this room knows how blockchain works. It's not fair to have you be the only person that can verify your vote. Every single person must be able to verify. Your 18-year-old child who is not a computer expert needs to be able to know their vote got counted right. So we're not doing blockchain. We're not going that route. And they want us to all vote on these. That's what's coming around the corner. They're going to have everyone voting on phone. They're going to say it's a blockchain-based system, and you peasants will love it, and you'll get instant results, and there'll be no delays. And you're right, there are problems with our system, and it's insecure, but this one's safe, we promise. You're going to hear that. So when you hear that, that should sound just like this. Put a diaper on your face and stay in your house and close your business. And what are you going to tell them when you hear it again? No, we're good. No, we're good. And if we have to just have our own elections, we are going to have our own elections. Which means you're going to have to learn how to hand count ballots no matter what. Period. If someone comes from up top and says, we have to do hand count elections for federal elections, which I hope it does come from up top, which it may. I've written parts of executive orders. I'm hoping we see that. And then we're going to need to hand count ballots. If that doesn't happen for whatever reason, if we're going to have a country, we're going to have to hand count our ballots. So no matter which way this ends, you're going to be hand counting ballots. So what you need to do now is you have a great big group of people. You have a network. You need to learn to hand count ballots. You need to train each other. It's very simple. You get 100 sample ballots, you get some tally sheets, you sit there and do it, you take video and pictures, then you send me the videos and pictures, and we create a movement across the whole country of every county doing it. Can you imagine that? How cool would that be? Ventura County's doing it. Orange County, Sacramento, all over the country. And then the citizens, when they see other people do it, they'll start doing it. And then we create millions of citizens that are all teaching each other how to hand count. You don't need your election officials to do it. You do it, right? And then when you go in and say, we want hand counts, what's the first excuse they give you? We don't have enough people. We can't even find enough poll watchers. Well, if you have an army of 1,000 people or a couple thousand people in your county that are doing it, and you have video of it, and you got the list, you walk in there and say, here's how everyone trained, we're ready to go. They can't use that as an excuse anymore. So take away their excuses, take away the roadblocks. Yes, sir.
In this state, all the counties, you can't have, a Republican and an independent and a Democrat all validating the count number anymore. It's paid employees employed by the state.
It doesn't matter what the laws are right now. You guys can still go set up your own hand count training.
That's right.
Doesn't matter what, they can't tell you you can't do that.
We can conduct our own election.
You can even conduct your own election. And in fact,
Can tell you can't.
it just happened. New California just had a hand count election,
You just did
right?
it. You just did it.
hand counting.
Yeah.
You guys can come and watch, videotape, be part of it.
Be part of it. Just start doing it. That's how we prove we can do it. Because that's the number one excuse I hear. Even when I talk to a good clerk, they'll say, you know what, I would support hand counting, but we just can't do it because we don't have enough people. Yeah. And then in this county, I went and talked to the citizens, and the citizens said, oh, we're going to do it. We're going to set it up right now. And I told the clerk that, and the clerk said, do you think they would invite me so I could be a part of it? And I told them that, and they said, what? There's no way she would like it. I said, no, she's interested. She said, oh, absolutely she can come. So that relationship now, that wedge has just been disintegrated. And now the clerk is going to work and do the hand counts with the citizens. And what a great thing when the clerk sees the citizens actually know how to do it. See, the problem is the clerks are so scared of hand count because they think they're the ones that have to sit there and count all the ballots. They don't realize, no, the people do all the work. All they do is share the data. The people do all the heavy lifting. You got to put your best foot forward, show them you can do it by building the hand count armies. Now, there's a lot of other solutions we need. I've got them on the website. You can click on anytime you want. Go to the website, click on the big red button, click for election solution. That gives you the full solution of how we fix our elections. But what I want to tell you, we already went through that. I'm going to skip kind of my stuff real quick because I want to show you this here. Handcountroadshow.org is the website. So here's what we need. We need action, and that's what I'm all about. So after I do these presentations, I typically get together with the citizens the next day, the leaders, and we go through and actually figure out, okay, let's create some teams, and let's make this happen. So what you need some people to become experts. I call them czars, right? Mail ballot czar, Dropbox czar, voter rolls czar, tabulation czar, exit polling, reporting, auditing, candidate placement. We are going into war. We're going to war in a year. We have an election. So you've got to ready your troops now so everyone doesn't go in and act like chickens with their heads cut off. Oh my gosh, we have an election. How do we request stuff? What information do we do? Election's tomorrow. No. We know election's coming, so let's not freak out at the last minute. Let's not procrastinate. I saw your hands raised, right? Let's get ready right now. We've been through this game enough times. We know what's going to happen. We know all the crap they're going to pull with us. The pizza boxes and the stupid rules and the dots and who knows whatever they're going to do. Figure out, anticipate what they're going to do this time and be ready. Have all your FOIAs ready ahead of time, okay? Have your attorneys ready ahead of time. Just plug the numbers in, but you can have everything ready to go going into it. Have all your poll watchers ready. Have them all trained. Know how to hand count. Know everything about the audit and be able to fight that audit and get more than 1%. You might find some election officials that will say, you know what, we'll hand count more than 1%. One election official did something really cool. He's doing 100 1% audits.
Interesting.
100 times 1% is what?
100%.
100% hand count.
I love that.
Can you imagine that? Still not breaking the state law. They require 1%. They're just doing it 100 times.
Well, that's a cooperative.
Isn't that an
clerk.
interesting-
We don't have that here.
I understand, but there's creative ways to do things. We got to start thinking outside the box. So movements, we need a citizen oversight group. You're going to have to get ready to have oversight on this election coming up. Start working on it tomorrow. You need a hand count army. You can start doing that right now. Get me video and pictures. If you need sample ballots or you need sample tally sheets, I will give that to you. I've got a great method I set up that's really simple. I've showed many clerks, and the clerks that hate hand count look at this method and go, oh, we could actually do that. So look at what I've got. If I had more time, I'd show you the video. But I'll show you where to find it. Make Election Day great again. We need that movement. Create that movement. I'm talking yard signs, bumper stickers, billboards. Make Election Day great again. You guys seem to have some pretty nice weather here. How about an Election Day picnic to bring awareness and attention to how great it is to vote on Election Day? Election Day stickers. I voted on Election Day. Not just I voted on Election Day. And you're going to have your kids have a contest to make the stickers. Get your kids involved. Have them a sticker contest to make Election Day. I vote on Election Day stickers, okay? Then when all the kids make their sticker ideas, then you go to the gym and you put all their stickers up on a board and you number them and you hand out paper ballots to everyone. And they vote on the top 3 stickers with the paper ballots. And then the kids get together and you tell the kids, all right, kids, let's count. And the kids hand count their paper ballots to pick the top 3 sticker winners. Do you see all the check boxes here? Right? We're knocking all kinds of things off, getting our kids involved. We're doing something really cool. We're bringing attention to voting on Election Day. And then the top 3 stickers, you get them made and you hand them out in your county on Election Day. And then that shows everyone how great it is to vote on Election Day. Because the more people that vote on Election Day in person, the harder it is for them to manipulate the election. I got lots of little ideas like this, okay? They are very low effort, high impact ideas. Creative, playing their same little stupid guerrilla tactics, but in a really cute way. We can do this. We need an opt-out movement to opt out of mail ballots. Can you do that here?
No.
Okay, ask. Maybe they can set you up with something. And even if they say no,
They have to send out.
if there isn't a facility to opt out, you guys could have your own opt-out movement. Can you imagine this? You do your own opt-out movement. We're opting out of mail ballots, and you go around and get petitions, and everyone signs if they want to opt out, and then you walk in there and you show them, here are 10,000 people that have opted out, and they say, well, we don't allow opt-out. We're like, I understand that, but here's 10,000 people that don't want it.
So what we've done, what we can do is we did a campaign 4 years ago. We handed out these little cards telling everybody vote on Election Day, and do not use your mail-in ballot. Go to the polling place, surrender your mail-in ballot, request an on-demand paper ballot, and request that they ran out of paper at all the polling places.
Okay,
Because we had enough people doing
and then you also do this. What you do beforehand is you go to your election officials and you tell them, we're going to have a massive turnout on Election Day. So we want to make sure that no one has surprises and there's plenty of resources available. What are you doing to prepare for all of these voters that are going to show up on Election Day? We're going to have more than you've ever seen on Election Day. And put them on notice, but in a nice way, and say, what can we as citizens help to make sure we all have a nice, smooth day on Election Day? Get ahead of the game. Yeah. Yes?
So would a way to maybe facilitate that is a combination of the opt-out and the Election Day movement, which is you show up with 10,000 signatures of people that say, I'm voting on Election Day. And you plop it over to them, 2 weeks or whatever before
A month.
election.
Yeah, give them plenty of time to adjust
Yeah,
properly.
say,
Yeah.
I will vote on Election Day. They know these people are going to show up. We can have our door.
And then you video that also, right? And then you put that out in the media, because what it does is it grows that movement. And that movement, courage is contagious. I'll get you. Courage is contagious. And when you guys do something like that, other people will see and they'll start copycatting it all over the country. That's how we create these movements all over. We can use social media to change and influence people in a good way. We know it works in a bad way, right? They've been doing it to us forever. Let's use those same tools for good. Yes, sir.
Just point of reference at the election, I went to the county election last election, and over 75% of the ballots for Ventura County are drop box or mail-in.
Wow.
Okay.
Over 75%.
Well, of course, and that's what I see when there's heavy manipulation in an election. That's normal. That's what you'll see. So address that. So what we do is we get in there and we identify all of the potential weaknesses or vulnerabilities in your system. We look at what's happened before, what's going on around the country, what are they going to do this time, and then develop mitigation strategies for each one of those. Yes.
I know a lot of folks that just drop their mail. I mean, I do this. I drop it on election day into the or just bring it to the.
I would bring it as close as you can to the place, because time and space in an election is where manipulation happens.
No, I'm saying on election day, bring it to the poll.
It's better than other methods, yeah.
So I mean, but I think when they say 75% are doing drop boxes or whatever, I think it's because a lot of people are bringing their ballots on election day filled out.
And they're counting that as a mail ballot.
Correct.
Yes, and they did that to me too in Colorado. I went in and I wanted to vote on a normal ballot, and I brought my other one, and they made me vote on the mail ballot, and then instead of dropping it in the normal box, they made me put it in the envelope and treat it as a mailed ballot and go put it in the drop box instead of just putting it in the little slot. I was like, this is ridiculous. But the reason they're doing that is it's easier to launder the ballots when you have them all flow through one system. It's a laundering operation, is what it is. It's also a money laundering operation, but it's also a ballot laundering operation. Yes.
So is there any technology or program that could be written kind of like Polymarket or some, because last night you were talking about kind of creating a parallel system?
You can't trust software. It's really simple. Paper ballots, hand counted at the precinct-based results, and we're done and easy. Very, very simple. We cannot trust any piece of software. I could create a perfectly safe, secure voting system, but then you would have to trust me, and I don't want you to have to trust me. That's the problem. We cannot have a system based on trust. We have to have a system that is so transparent that trust is earned because of its transparency, not because someone mandates trust. So that I go through a lot of other stuff, but I had to really condense this, and I've already got an hour over. Thank you guys for hanging out. Yes.
California has a law called the Voters' Choice Act that forces the counties to do certain things. They have to do the mail-in ballots. They have to have the tabulators. So that's a huge obstacle. They have to have.
I understand.
It's a huge obstacle.
The laws have been set up to work against us. And so we have to think non-traditionally. We can't keep asking for the laws to change. The criminals are the ones creating the laws. We can educate people that are still close enough that might be able to affect a vote, but we have to start thinking more non-traditionally. We have to create a movement of citizens that are done with the existing system. We are not going to accept it any longer. Just like the whole mask thing. At some point, people were like, I'm not freaking wearing it. I don't care what you do. Arrest us all.
Yeah.
That's the point we're going to have to get with our elections. I hate to tell you. Yeah.
So I want to correct Mary there. The Voters' Choice Act is voluntary, and it's opted in or out by the register of voter of the county. So if you want to get serious about making change, there needs to be thousands of people pressuring our register of voters and our county board of supervisors to opt out of the Voters' Choice Act, which is something we've pressured on. But we haven't had the numbers. And it's like, okay,
well, that's an easy fix, right?
When are, we've been working hard to get this out, but we need a bigger army, guys. And are we going to get serious or not?
Each one of you probably knows 10 people, right? So if each one of you grabbed 10 people, you'd probably have the numbers you need. And you go. So get organized. Seriously, this is it. This is our opportunity. You will never get a do-over here. This is our country. This is the country that your kids and your grandkids are going to inherit. And if you're going to let them inherit communism, a destroyed country, because you wouldn't go get 10 people and go let your voice be heard at the county building and demand getting out of that stupid act, you'll regret it for the rest of your life. And the rest of your child's life. This is the moment. We have no choice. All hands on deck. Save our country. Period. That's it. That's why I'm giving everything to do it.
The current ROV herself as being the person responsible for enacting the Voters' Choice Act. It is her decision. The voter supervisors have told us it is her decision. They don't have anything to do with it. It's her decision. So
She's an elected
Michelle
official.
is the one who made the decision to keep us in the Voters' Choice Act.
So,
Massive
so
pressure.
Who do we go
Create
after?
massive
I believe
pressure.
the County
We go
Board of
after.
Supervisors could pass an ordinance saying we will have one-day elections, and that would force the ROV to opt out of the Voters' Choice Act. So there's a number of different angles to accomplish this, but there needs to be enough people and enough pressure to make it happen. And the window of opportunity is getting very
Is
small.
now. So here's what I would do. You guys need to have another meeting. You should be planning right after this, in the next few days, you should be planning, okay, when's our next election strategy meeting? And these people need to be here at that meeting. You need to have these discussions, and you need to put a strategy up on a whiteboard and work it out and make it happen. It's not going to happen by itself. It's going to take people. But you've got some smart people here. You've got some dedicated people. You've got an incredible group of people here. Seriously, in this county, I have never been to a county that is this put together. I just never have.
Thank you.
Seriously. You guys are killing it. And I'll tell you another thing that I have to just share with you because this is amazing. I've been traveling for 3 years. And I go all over the place and I never see kids. It's just weird. It's like a kid ghost town everywhere I go. And it's the most bizarre thing. And I come here and I'm coming down the street and I see kids out riding their bikes. I was like, wow, that's so cool. And then I see some more kids riding their bikes and scooters. And then I pull into this lot and I've been living in the lot for a couple of days. And I get back last night and I pull in and there's kids everywhere in the lot. There's like 20 kids out and they're all playing and having fun with each other. And I thought, this is the coolest thing ever. Literally, who would have thought Ventura County just happens to be like a haven? So whatever you are doing something right if children are not glued to these stupid little demon devices and they're out enjoying themselves. So you're doing it for them. You got to do it for them. You've got a great opportunity here. Do this for your county, do it for your state, and do it as an example for your entire country. Yes,
I
sir.
have a question. When we're talking about pressuring the supervisors, you're pressuring them to give up their jobs because they know that's how they got in. It's through the fraudulent election.
Mm-hmm.
And I just don't know how you pressure someone to do something that he knows he's going to give up, he's going to lose the election.
Well, it depends on the person. You have to look at how to get to them. If you can talk to a person, if they've got a heart, if they know that there's a higher being, you might be able to reach them through a different angle. If they just don't care and they're just disconnected and they're only out for themselves, there are different types of pressure. People don't like pressure, in case you didn't realize that. Okay? People will go from an area of high pressure, they will escape to an area of low pressure. There are many ways to create pressure, uncomfortable pressure, that causes people to change their direction.
There's a reason why there was an election advisory committee that they, on their own, drafted a resolution for and passed it. We pushed and pushed and pushed, but guess what? We hadn't shown up since, I think, January. I think January was the last time we showed up. And in April, all of a sudden, lo and behold, there's a resolution on the agenda to create this election advisory committee. Now, I'm not saying that that's the end all be all. It may end up being nothing. But the point is that in my opinion, that was 18 months of pressure that finally made some of them do something.
It will happen. If you keep working, it'll happen. If you don't, the only way to guarantee a loss is not to play. Okay, if you don't put the effort in, you're guaranteed to lose.
And that was with 5, 6, 20, 25 people in a meeting.
Right.
So imagine if we had 100, 200, 300, 500, and that's what our goal was.
Right.
But
never
we're
really happened.
volunteers. We only can do so much. But we've got a lot bigger group of people here from a lot of groups. And are we going to band together and work together? And
You have to.
slay this beast.
You have to do it.
It's like Restore the Vote can't do it on their own. We've
PCA
got
can do it on their own.
all these different groups, and it's like, are you going to get serious or stay in your lane? Or are we all going to get in the same lane on this for whatever season of time it takes?
The time is now. You have to do it. We have no choice. We will not save our country unless we all work together. And that's why they tried to divide all of us. Okay? That division was manufactured because divided we cannot stand, right? United we can. Unite and crush these criminals. Yes.
So Reform California has the voter ID initiative for Carl DeMaio. Are you familiar with that?
I'm not, but let's do this since it is late.
Yeah.
Call me, and I'm happy to discuss that, and let's talk some strategy. And there's a few of us that we probably need to bring in and go over all this. I'll do what I can to help you.
So know that that's not going to affect this next election,
No, it's not.
and it's a good thing.
No, I was just talking about the energy that's being used for that. The strategy of double dipping in a way, using that same platform and leveraging it for some of these other things that we want to do.
We've gotta figure out what we wanna do first.
But that's it. Obviously, everybody knows that's at the state level. It's a constitutional amendment. It's not going to help us in this election. And there's things that we can do now that could impact this next election. So
Okay.
I think
Well, I'll close it up with this last thing. If you want to see the brief that I wrote for Jim Jordan, if you go to my website, handcountroadshow.org, and you click on that little RV picture, you can download the PDF. That's the brief I had handed to Jim Jordan the day before the weaponization hearings. And I had it handed to a bunch of other Congress people as well. And I'm still waiting on a call, but if you want to see what at least I handed to them, you can read it. I think it might be a little eye-opening as to what they absolutely know because that was in their hands. So anyway, thank you all. I appreciate letting me go an hour over. Thank you for everything. And thank you.